Welcome to Destiny Massive Breakdowns, episode 295. I'm Legola Flash.
And I'm Ill Physics, and we're here with another deep dive into Destiny 2.
Yes, we are, and this week we're going over all the Neomuna weapons for the Crucible, how to deck out the craftable ones, and what RNG rolls to look out for the Terminal Overload weapons.
Yes.
We're going over both of them, because that RNG is brutal, Tony.
That, as you told me, like after you told me, I'm trying to go for more on that, on the shotgun, right? The rapid fire shotgun that we're going to talk about. You got me excited about that, and now I'm not necessarily looking forward to the actual grind for it itself, but we'll get into that more as we go down, of course.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about our weeks a little bit before we get over all the cracked information that we have on these rolls, because there's some insane stuff like that. I'll go ahead and start with just one thing from my week, because I have just been deep diving iterative loop with all the fusion stuff going on, and then also round robin and all of these weapons really, but there's just so much to them with the intrinsic trait, and we've hinted at the past two episodes, the trace rockets, and now I like fully understand and appreciate how they work with every one of these weapons, and this is worth deep diving. This might be the most worthwhile deep dive that we have pretty much ever done in Destiny 2, like on Destiny Massive Breakdowns, because there's so much information to go over. It's insane.
I would agree, and I'm looking forward to it. So, first of all, how was your week, baby? How was your week? What's going on?
Man, dude. So I played a lot of trials with all these weapons,
as we usually do.
As I mentioned, we went over the fusion rifle stuff specifically because of the buff we're going to talk about in a bit here. But also there's like some pretty interesting fusions this season. So been going over a lot of that on YouTube, and actually am about to hit 20,000 subs on YouTube, which is crazy.
I saw that, baby.
Little celebration for myself there, because to do that in less than a year from pretty much nothing is crazy. It feels crazy to me. Yeah. So,
yeah, but the grind has been epic. Fun. The work ethic has been crazy. I mean, I continue to tell people, that you're definitely my favorite. I mean, I just don't have that much time to watch YouTube and things like that. And anytime I even get a little bit of a hint of YouTube, it's pretty much to maybe slide by my channel just to take care of some quick comment stuff, or to go to your channel. That's about it. And then your videos just draw me in. They draw me in, and it really comes from, I mean, obviously I'm on Twitter like all the time, and so you'll draw me in with your initial little clip, kind of describing what the new video is, and I think you do such a great job of that. And then I find myself increasingly just clicking the button, clicking the link, and then I'll drop in. Man. That's what it's about. Yeah. So definitely well deserved, well earned. I look forward to the 100K at the very least, and on. But definitely earned, man, and I'm excited for you.
Well, thanks, dude. And also, quick thanks to everybody listening to these episodes. I know we'll get into like thanking the patrons and sponsors and everyone who keeps the show going later, but thank you for just listening to the show. Like, we've enjoyed doing this and having y'all give your feedback on Twitter and in the Discord, and just randomly hitting up in the YouTube comments even just what you think about the episodes and how you're liking the different weapon rolls that we recommend, because I personally just love diving into that, and even the way the Crucible is changing and just our breakdowns of all that has been so much fun doing this with Physics here.
Definitely.
Yeah, I appreciate every single one of you.
Likewise.
Before I get to your stuff, Tony, I do want to it's just a slight, like, I'm not one to rant like that. I'm more excited about the game than anything. I'm so excited for all the trials changes that we talked about in the last episode, but there is one thing that drove me crazy this week, specifically because I was diving so much into the Neomuna weapons, and one thing about those weapons that I'll say up front off the bat is the stats aren't great on any of these weapons. It feels like maybe there's a few spots, but for the most part they're like below average stats. It's the perks and like the barely pushing over intricate like TTK stuff where it depends what resil you're fighting, and it gets very specific, and trials breaks because light level is enabled in it. Like all of this balancing just falls apart when light level is enabled, and I hate it so much. And I just had to rant for a second. And, and I think it's a worthwhile rant worth having because you got it's not just about me and like figuring out my build and then it not working because I refuse to do the, all the pinnacle stuff. I just want to play the activity I like playing. It's not just about that. That's a piece of it, but it's also about the people who are playing Trials for the very first time or like only get, 3 hours a week to play, and Trials is the thing that they're so looking forward to. And I saw it this week, even the last 2 weekends of Trials where it was people jumping in for the first time and going solo flawless, but these people, a lot of them are under light level, and it totally breaks just the TTK of everything. Like, think of how the Immortal was running rampant the other week, and if they were lower light level, it didn't matter if they hit that 5 Resil check to not get melted at 0.56 TTK with target log. Like, they were getting melted by that regardless because they were lower light level, and that sucks. Like, I don't want to just be a free pass for those who play the game a whole bunch. So just mini rant there. All these great changes are coming to Trials, and I would love to see them address light level as well. I just feel like there's no reason for it to be there.
Okay, so no, well. Okay, I guess that leans into me a little bit. What about the reason of it being a barrier to people cheating?
Well, they have to purchase the newest expansion to play it anyway.
Well, it's just an additional, I guess, as an additional barrier, I should say. Like it's one of the many. It's one of the few. Like one of the, I'm not saying when I say one of the few or. I'm not saying it as a negative. I'm just saying it's one of the few deterrents that we have, to ensure that, that barrier to entry for folks that want to just create a new account and just go crazy with the subscriptions, with the multi-month subscriptions, that it isn't as easy for them to make that happen and then jump into, our, most coveted in-game PvP activity, right?
I get that side of it, but like comp isn't that. Iron Banner isn't that. Those are high-level competitive playlists, and that, it doesn't cheating and needing to buy an expansion and level up doesn't affect those playlists. I mean, maybe buy an expansion. I'm not sure about that part, but, you don't need to light level for that, is my point, is that because that's the thing we're talking about here. So I feel like if it's not a problem there, why would it be a problem in Trials other than maybe loot? But I don't know. I feel like people who are cheating, if they're doing that on like paid accounts, those accounts are going to get like, it's just not going to work out for them well anyway. It's normally people just like harassing. I feel like, I don't know. I'm making up too much stuff here.
I hear you. It's a tough calculation. It's a tough calculation both for us to kind of discern, even just talking about it, right? The multi-layer effort by Bungie to kind of control cheating, recovs, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, we could do a whole episode probably a couple episodes just on that, and we'd still probably get a few things wrong because there's so much stuff happening, but behind the scenes that they're not going to let us know. And of course, the reason for that is to ensure that cheaters don't know it as well, so that they can get caught up in that. So I find it interesting. I find it interesting for sure. I think it's definitely a discussion worth having. I will definitely go as far as to say that, because you're absolutely right. And if we're trying to make this game as welcoming or increasingly welcoming to new lights in particular, so that we can continue to grow and at the very least sustain our population, make this game great, continue to make it great, then I feel like that's a discussion worthwhile having.
Yeah, so it's not like a huge thing, but it is something that I kept running into this weekend. I'm like, well, even if they did buff this fusion rifle thing, I'm so low light level that it's basically going to be like free buff for me anyway, because I'm not doing the grind. So it's just stuff like that, just a little, not necessarily even it has to be this way, just something that I would like and has been a part of my week especially these Neomuna weapons where it's so intricate, man. It's the most intricate set of weapons I feel like we've ever got, as far as just a set that like do a certain thing, and the resilience levels you're fighting like really matter sometimes. So,
yeah, absolutely. And man, I see. Oh man, it's a lot of depth to this conversation, because I see it as two additional things. I've said that the weapons team, and increasingly just the teams in general, when it comes to combat and gameplay, are it's more intentional. Everything's more intentional. So when we talk about diminished stats, maybe it's to ensure that some of the perks, which are just juiced perks, don't put it over the top into immortal territory, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a balance and there's a game to be played there that the weapons team, if we're talking about weapons, the weapons team is having to play. It's I could see it as not being easy, and not an easy balance. We don't want all immortals, right?
Yeah, and I don't want it to sound like I had a bad time in Charles.
No, of course. Yeah, it's just an observation.
Fun.
It's just an observation, most definitely. Yeah, and I've noticed that as well.
Yeah. Flip side of that whole thing is I did have a blast in Trials this weekend. I felt like my KD is just raising every, it's all connection and card based.
You're just gonna flex. You're just gonna flex like that, huh? Okay, we talking about KD now, huh? Okay.
What I'm saying is I can see myself improving over the course of these weekends, as it goes through, and I'm like diving more into my build. And after Lightfall dropped, everything changed so much with the mod system, and I'm slowly understanding it more and more. And I've really got the whole loop of like Reaper, getting an orb, getting my Surge stuff. We talked about it the very first episode, Lightfall dropped, the way that the Surge mods work, and it's really helping my playstyle now and making up for some of that light level stuff, actually.
Yeah. And that's what I was telling my folks, and of course we communicated this on that same episode, the fact that the Surges in particular, help with a lot of the forgiveness, and kind of just making up for some of what may be lacking when it comes to whether it be power level or maybe some diminished stats and some damage fall off that we might get here or there. So yeah.
But enough of that. How was your week, man? What's been going on with you in Destiny?
Dude, Burnout is awesome. Every time that map comes up now, dude, I'm going for it. I love that map. I've loved it since, Destiny 1, but since I've just rediscovered 120 hand cannons, I've just been adoring it. I said the last time that Burnout was here, I put like 1,000 kills on my True Prophecy. I brought that out. Rangefinder, Rampage, going crazy. This time around, it was the Igneous with the Amkara build, right? So last time around I was on Warlock primarily. This time around I was on Hunter, and the Amkara Spine build was just going nuts. And so, people were both getting at me and also like celebrating a little bit the fact that I put that Amkara Spine. I put my particular Amkara Spine build on Twitter, and that just blew up. You saw. We were talking about the fact that Paul Tassi commented. He was just like, "Look, I put this build on, everybody. I put Tony's build on, and the first match I was popping off like this right here." So Amkara Spine's definitely a very strong exotic. I don't think that some people are being as objective about its place in the meta as they could be. I think that if healing and barricades weren't as much of an issue or weren't as prevalent, in in-game PvP, then maybe I'd agree that the spines were objectively OP. But as it stands right now, I see them as a very strong counter to several mechanics that we have in the game that give folks, second and third chances in engagements, and allow people to very, very casually just sit on, capture points. Somebody told me on Twitter the other day, they were just like, well, capture, the capture points are the objective. And I'm just like, no, it's elimination. If the capture points were the objective in zone trials, then the zones would come up first and you'd be trying to cap that ASAP. But the thing is, where the zones are, and they're trying to push you towards the zones, in a random spot, in one of those random 3 spots, but it's elimination first. It's elimination first, and then the zones come up if enemies aren't eliminated or, a variety of conditions are fulfilled. But for the most part, if enemies aren't eliminated, it's more so similar to like a cutthroat last round. I can't remember what there's a specific name for those sorts of rounds, but you get my point.
You bring up something so good though, because I feel like we could do a whole episode on the mentality of the zone and how to play a map, based off of what you just said, because there were so many. I soloed a lot this weekend. I played a ton of solo games, and the amount of times that I pushed out and got 2 kills, and there's 1 guy left, and my
they
2
would sit
teammates,
on the flag.
Dude, they're 15. Yeah, they're 30 meters behind me, sitting on the flag, and refuse to just walk around the corner and help me get the last guy. I'm like,
exactly.
Guys, there's 2 people down, and then they get both reses up, 3v2, and they just rush them with, and they're dead. And
exactly.
Come on,
exactly.
guys, come on.
Yeah, it's just like it's elimination first and foremost. The flag is sure there is a strategy behind locking down the zone first or whatnot. But anytime you try to do that, as far as like a first person shooter, whenever the enemy team knows exactly where you are, and you're stationary, you're inherently at a disadvantage, and you should be at a disadvantage. So there is something to be said with navigating the map, trying to get those eliminations first and then falling back to the cap if necessary, because you put yourself at a disadvantage just sitting around waiting for folks. And so the thing is, people are more inclined to do that these days because they have things like overshield barricades that you can just loop. They have things like rifts, like weld. They have things like heal nades. And so the plethora of those types of like second chance mechanics or like overshield or healing mechanics, that's why Amkar spines are so great right now as a strong counter. That's why they belong in this meta, in the context of this meta. That's why I say that they're not OP. The only time I said it, and I think I said it last episode as well about Amkar spines, because I swear to God, I'm going to drill this home for folks. It's just like the only reason why the spines should maybe be toned back a little bit is just the regen. I do feel like if you tag 2 or 3 people with one trip mine, then of course you should get it back or almost get it back. And even doing that, usually I have to have like a kickstart on or something like that, or like bomber on or something like that. But that's the only reason you would get one back. Otherwise, like getting a trip mine back versus with like proximity knife damage and things like that can get a little out of hand, and people can end up spamming that. I would never want folks to be able to spam them. The way that I utilize spines is I just try to get as much as I can out of an accurate throw, out of an accurate placement, and then kind of go from there. And so, like a clip that I ended up putting on Twitter from this weekend was the enemy team was immediately, they ended up taking down one of our team members. So it was a 3-2 advantage their way. They didn't push. It was still a minute and a half left in the round. They didn't push. They chose to then try to lock down center zone behind the column. And so me and my teammate were outside. I throw a trip mine on one of the corners that occupies that space behind the column. It hits 2 or 3 of them. I get my trip mine back. They use a heal nade. And that's the point that I wanted to make to folks, is they use the heal nade. They completely, if I didn't have Amkar spines to immediately get that grenade back, to try to do a little bit more, because I can't just rush in there. We got Terabuzz, we got Immortals, we got shotguns, we got fusions. I'm not just going to throw my life away just by rushing down center and going right in there, even just off of one grenade. But certainly not after they immediately heal from that grenade. They threw a heal nade, all of them healed, all of them. But I ended up getting my nade back, threw another one, took out 2 of them. The third was injured. I still didn't rush the center like that. By the time that point, I was already on the side. I went to west, came through west door, and then just ended up hitting the last person in the head, killing them before the wheel came down or whatnot.
Right.
So it's just like my point is Amkar spines in this meta, in this context, have a very useful and valid spot. And if we were to maybe, like talk about survivability with heal nades, overshields, et cetera, then we could do that. If we want to talk about proximity, knives or things that feed into the spine's regen outside of grenades, we can definitely talk about that, because I wouldn't want them to be just, spammable to the point where you didn't really do anything with the nade itself. To get that nade back. So I still find it's definitely an interesting, discussion, but I'm glad that more folks are coming on to one of my favorite exotics. That's been one of my favorites, especially for trials and, elimination competitive game modes for the last couple of years. And so, so we got that.
That's why I'm laughing. I'm laughing so hard right now because I feel like you sparked this. Like, I feel like you put out that tweet, and then all of a sudden I'm seeing other tweets of like, cards needs to be looked at. Like, it like literally wasn't a conversation until you started tweeting about it, which is crazy.
I've been trying to get this conversation started for like a minute because I wanted to get ahead of it, because people are so, inclined to just be so reactionary, and they're just immediately going to say, yo, this is OP, yo, this is OP, without actually
need counters,
digging
like
into it. Like, we need counters, most definitely.
Yeah.
And again, it's like, if you say it's OP, okay, well, what specifically about it is OP? Let's break that down. And when we break that down, then if we can all come to kind of a similar like mindset together about what may need to be addressed, then we can push that, elevate that, send that to, as feedback to our devs or whatnot. And they can have just a more well-rounded, process around maybe like tuning it a little bit. But really, I just think that the regen based off of anything but grenade hits needs to be like maybe toned back a little bit. And everything else with spines is really great within this context, within this, within this meta. And if things change with regards to what it counters, what this particular exotic counters, then we can take a look at the spines and see, okay, well, maybe, we don't necessarily need them the way that they are right now. People talk about the damage resist on them, and it's just like, well, if the damage resist wasn't on them, then people would just take them off the wall. They'd be just like regular trip mines. It's just... Yeah, and I'll say this again. I'll say this last thing.
I like that stuff.
Well, that's it's central to the actual benefit of the spines themselves.
I don't even play with spines for context. Like, I play against them, and I like that they have some I like that it's not just like there's an annoying thing, let me just shoot it real quick. Like,
exactly.
Like, I actually have to think and like take a second and be like, okay, wait, do I want to take the time to shoot that and give away what I'm doing, or do I want to, and then I can flip it around on my opponent and be like, okay, I'm going to act like I'm shooting this thing, but really I'm not. And so they're going to push around the corner thinking I'm busy and I'm ready for them. Like that. It just makes for interesting play styles.
It does make for interesting play style too, because like, think of it like this, like, and this is why I think that if you don't get grenade tags, when I say grenade tags, I mean damage off of your grenades. Say you don't kill them, but you get damage off of them, then that, if you don't get the actual regen from the grenade tag itself, then you really shouldn't get regen. Because if Lego, for example, takes my nade off the wall, takes the time to take it off the wall, but doesn't actually take any damage off of it, then that means that maybe my placement wasn't as great. Maybe my timing wasn't as great. Maybe I should improve on that. Those are things that maybe I should be worried about closing the skill gap on. But either way, if it doesn't actually get a tag, then I shouldn't get energy back off of it, And so that's the balance that I would look for with the spines. And people try to, make it seem like the spines are like easy. Dude, there is definitely a trap ceiling with spines. Definitely. When you believe every time that I throw a spine, every time that I throw a trip mine, I'm trying to precisely put it in one spot that I know I'm trying to throw it at. If I undershoot it or overshoot it.
I really don't, because when you throw it in your clips, it's so clean, like it goes exactly on the wall where you want it to. Dude, every time I throw a trip mine or a lightning grenade, it for sure hits that little crease in the wall, and it like goes inward into itself, and you're like, bro,
I know what you're talking about, man.
It's literally in the wall. No one's gonna run in. You have to literally like touch it for it to explode.
You have to put your nose to it. You have to put your nose to it. Yeah, we've all thrown those. I mean, it's literally years for me. I've got clips. I'm telling you, I'm actually making like a montage of me just like throwing them in very precise, I'm talking about like 50, 60 yards out, and just calling the Kobe. I had this one, oh man, we're getting off on a tangent, but I love this shit so much. Sorry for cursing. Like, I have this one from this past week from comp where somebody's trying to get heavy on Widow's Court, right up top in Crow's Nest, and I'm talking about cross map. My butt is on the wall in that spawn, that little nook back the opposite side Crow's Nest. I throw it from there, call the Kobe, and I just go around the corner. About 5 to 10 seconds later, my teammate dies because I'm playing solo. My teammate dies, and I'm the last one left, and I'm not even worried. I'm not even phased. It goes off. It kills that person up in Crow's Nest, and it's just done, man. It's just done. I honestly don't even know where that trip mine landed, but it landed where I needed it to land. And it's literally years of me just like messing around with this exotic. And like after I put together that build and put it on Twitter, I put a video from like 2021 to remind folks that, I've been doing this for years, and it's just really fun. And I'm glad that more people are kind of adopting it and hopefully recognizing that there's definitely a skill gap to it. There's definitely a trap skill gap to it, and they're very, very rewarding if you end up putting in the time to figure out like when you need to throw them and where you need to throw them in order to be the most beneficial.
Dude, before you go to your next thing, you just reminded me of something that I'm dying to talk about, and that is I'm just going to put this one point in there before Tony goes on to the rest of his points, because it's killing me how good it is, and I never see anybody run it, is Void Scatter Grenades. It's so good. It's so, like, traditionally a grenade, but if you run Weaken on your grenades, it weakens it, and then you toss a grenade, and then there's there's more void stuff to get your grenades back as well, but just using that weaken and the scatter grenade, I've gotten so many just one toss, especially this weekend in Burnout with the bridge, how people camp up top when they're inside on the bridge. And I'll go invis and go to the center there. And even if there's two of them, I'll choose one to shoot at, and the other one I hop up, throw the scatter grenade. Almost always I'm getting a one shot, like with the scatter. And even if I'm not, I just jump up with my lightweight farewell, pop, just one, no matter how far away, they're one shot right there. And then I can just focus on the other guy. Or if they go around the corner or try to heal or anything like that, the scatter nade just right around the corner. It's so clean and efficient and traditionally a grenade. Whenever we've got so much space magic and like all the barricades and, all these other funky things, it's just nice to have a solid grenade that will just do work when you need to finish someone, or if they're just backed up in a corner and they're trying to heal, or they're about to engage you and push you. There were so many times I would be in a 1v2, finish one guy, and I knew the other guy was right around the corner to help his buddy. Just toss it at the ground right before he rushes me, just one shot from the sidearm, dead.
Beautiful.
So
beautiful.
Good. It's so good. I think it's very slept on.
I've got two questions. I'm definitely going to try this out soon. One question is, do you take damage yourself from scatter grenades? You
can, but you just have to, I play at the distance where, because I'm fusion sidearm, I play in that medium distance all the time. So I'm usually at least 7 meters from my target almost all the time. So if I and I'm constantly backpedaling rather than forward pedaling, because I'm frequently in 1v2s since I'm usually the one doing the flank. So it just pays off to, like, when people are pushing me, especially if there's two of them and I throw a scatter grenade and it weakens both of them and does like half damage, to where I can just one fusion rifle shot just goes through both of them. I don't even have to worry about it. So I think it's very good.
How's the cooldown on that particular grenade? Is it kind of like middle of the road?
It's the best, actually, I think. I need to go back and double check that, but I'm pretty sure that's what got me running it, because I run really low discipline. Like, I'm talking like 30 or something, like super low, because I don't even care. It's like my backup thing. But there's the mod you can run that every time you dodge, it gives you a bit of your ability back. And so I just run that because it's not even a kickstart mod. It doesn't cost hardly anything. And that's on, I think, on your class item, I believe.
That's correct. It's on your class item.
And so it's so easy to run that. And I'm dodging literally all the time on a Void Hunter, or just on a Hunter in general, you're dodging all the time, but on a Void Hunter specifically. So I'll use it one trials round, and maybe not the next round, but the round after that, I'll have it back up. And so it's nothing, that, and I'm running like hardly any discipline at all. So it's good.
I swear to God, you're about to get Hunters nerfed. You need to calm down with that. It's something, everybody. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Nobody's running invis anymore. You're fine. They're all running healing nades.
Ain't that the truth?
Okay. Let me hear what's next for you, because I that was just a tangent I had to go. I haven't talked about it anywhere, but I've started saving clips because I have so many where the scatter grenade just is doing work. But what's next
time? Next time I hop on Void, I'm gonna try it out. I'm gonna try it out for sure. I'll let you know what I think. Okay. Because let me get through the rest of my stuff. We got a list, people. We got a list. So I put that build up on Twitter. That did really well. Yes, I know, people. I need to make more YouTube. Leave me alone, you bullies.
I'm pushing them, y'all.
Capri Sting is the next build that I want to make. Ooh, I got a spicy Capri Sting build. I'm trying to put in some work with it. So I'm not sure if it's gonna, like, the gameplay loop is gonna pop the way that I really, really wanted to. We spoke about it a little bit pre-show, but I definitely want to check that out.
I want to see it when you get it going.
Yeah, 100%. You definitely. Still trying to figure out if lightweight shotguns are. I just don't have a handling. One of my favorite shotguns, two of my favorite shotguns right now are lightweight shotguns. On my Hunter, I pretty much don't ever switch off of my kinetic shotgun, which is a Reese Walker, accurized rounds, range mass work, corkscrew, hip fire grip, and iron reach, and then I double down on the hip fire with freehand grip. That thing is really, really good. It's very nice, and I love it. It's probably my favorite kinetic shotgun right now, period. I even run it oftentimes on my Titan because I'm running Igneous Hammer so much these days.
I want to like them. I do.
Yeah, I know. And, people have been asking me, Tony, do you really think lightweight shotguns are like is that a wave? Is there something we can do? Is there something specific about them that ends up putting them over the top to the point where they're viable? I don't have an answer for you yet, people. I'm still messing around with a couple different ones, and hopefully I can, kind of parse out exactly what's going on to the point where, why is this Reese Walker, outside of the obvious of having a good amount of range on it, why is this Reese Walker putting in work, whereas, other lightweights maybe aren't. So there's some 7 Seraph CQCs. I got a bunch of like legitimate 5 out of 5s of those with different barrels. I want to try those out, and some other ones as well. We'll keep it moving, but I'll let you guys know if I end up parsing out exactly what works on, lightweight shotguns and what doesn't. Man, I had a note down here about stream sniping. Y'all need to stop stream sniping, yo. What is going on in this community, bro? All day on Saturday,
you were
bro.
Fighting that this weekend. Yeah.
I wouldn't even mention it if it wasn't literally. I played trials all Saturday, and I would say the majority, like over 50%, it was people like literally in my stream. I could tell, and so I put this one clip up on Twitter. Where it's like a perfect example of where they what I started to do is I started to go to the exact opposite of where the zone was. My teammates would maybe take the zone because it was on west side, and I would go all the way to east, and I would be over there by myself to start off the round immediately. As soon as I got over there to that door to start off the round, I'm talking about 2-3 seconds into the round, there was already somebody there coming up on me for no reason, and I'm crouched like I am absolutely ratting it out, so they can't see me on the radar yet or anything. They roll up, and the clip that I'm referring to, like, basically, without getting into like the depth of it, all three of them come outside and 1v3 me or 3v1 me. You know what I'm saying? The Titan comes out first. I end up taking that one out. Then another one comes out right behind. Then another one comes out right. I'm just like, and all the while, all you see in the background, all you see in the background is my teammates capping the flag.
Oh no.
My teammates capping the flag. And it just was game after game after game while I'm trying to do like trials help and that sort of thing. And so, after I realized what was going on Saturday, like, I just started to play as if somebody was watching the stream. And once I started doing that, it was like butter. We got like 9 flawlesses. We got like, 9 flawless helps. 4 of those were people that had never gone to the Lighthouse before. I don't do trials too often these days just because the meta hasn't been in the best spot, but increasingly it is getting into a better spot. And I'm loving being back doing it. But I just find it, as like an OG, like somebody who's almost 40 years old, somebody who did like, basketball and track and all this other stuff, been just like, baptized in the religion of sportsmanship. I just find it's so strange to me. It's so strange to me that people would just be looking
weird people
at my stream, you know what I'm saying, in order to get that extra advantage instead of just playing the game. So,
but dude, you're playing on another mental level now, though. See, you're playing one game in the game, and then you're playing a streaming game.
I know how much you like mini games,
dude.
I know how much you love mini games. So, I know people, it's kind of like, okay, Tony's crying a little bit. He's a content creator, blah, 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 it's just, I'm just saying it's a little disappointing, because I'm not used to that mindset, but it is what it is. So anyway, keeping it moving. Glad to see that the hot fix on the 30th addressed some stuff with regards to the flare up artifact, right? Because double arc bolts have been going crazy. And honestly, it's been refreshing for me as like a D1.
Oh, you mean the fire bolts?
Veteran? Yeah, the fire bolts, And so we had, what was it, like Viking Funeral back in the day in D1?
Oh, yeah.
When people would just be throwing up fire bolts, be burning you out. Oh, man, it took me back to that time. But, that quickly got addressed. I mean, can we talk about again how quickly these changes are happening, right? They let us have our fun for a little bit, and then they just pull it back just a little bit. So yeah, reduce the number of additional scorch stacks added by the flare up artifact in PvP to 15, down from 30. So just addressing specifically how potent of a burnout those firebolts were, especially when you threw 2 of them. And then an additional change that they made was to target lock. We've been talking a lot about target lock and the fact that they fixed an issue where the target lock trait was not correctly deactivating on a miss if the weapon was firing at 720 RPM or higher. And of course, if we're talking about the submachine gun from Trials, the Immortal, it's a 750 RPM, right? So just addressing a little bit of what was making the Immortal a little bit too much of a standout. And it still definitely was going burr this weekend, but I feel like it wasn't burning me out as long as I was hitting my shots accurately and had placement. It wasn't burning me out quite as much. It was still definitely burning me out. It was definitely reaching out and touching, but I'm glad for any little change. We'll talk about later, pretty soon here actually, but still later, how they're ending up changing the aggressive subfamily of SMG to address kind of what's going on with those right now. Some other small things, I guess, before we get into the Thursday TWAB from last week and some of the things that will be coming up for that is I was happy to see hand cannons getting a 20% buff in PvE. I thought that was really cool. I miss using my hand cannon and actually doing something other than doing the tickle me Elmo to thrall in strikes. So it's nice to see that buff. Of course, they're buffing quite a few weapons in PvE, like pulse rifles, sidearms.
It's the auto rifle for me.
Yep, auto rifles. Yeah, auto rifles are about to go crazy.
That's actually going to be really fun because
I agree.
I have been loving the exotic the exotic strand auto rifle that we have that's now strand with the catalyst.
Yes.
It just the first thing we got the mini rockets on, and it's been so much fun, even though it's doing so much. Quicksilver, yeah. Yep. It's doing so much less damage now, and now it's doing more, and it's gonna get even more.
It's going to get
later
chunky.
On, so.
I think it's 25%. I think is the buff in PvE, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
dude, it's going to go hard. I'm excited for that.
Dude, I'm just excited. I'm excited again for my favorite auto rifle, I think, in the game. I'm pretty sure it's my favorite, which is Gnawing Hunger, dude. And then I told you before my love for Void 3.0 and the Void 3.0 verbs in PvE in particular. Oh my God, dude. I've got, like a kill clip, Zen Moment kill clip one. It goes so hard in PvE. It's like max range or something like that.
And you keep that kill clip rolling now too.
Yeah, I know. It's beautiful, cool. Dude. So I cannot wait. And what I love about auto rifles in Destiny 2 as well, I'll mention this, is the fact that there's nobody that just doesn't like auto rifles, right? We all have our kind of proclivities on what weapons
in PvP.
we really enjoy. Well, even in PvP, even
really?
in PvP.
No, I feel like there's a lot of auto haters. I
really?
think
There's a lot of auto
people.
haters? Oh, it must be like a console thing,
dude,
maybe.
Think about, because, Merc, I'm pretty sure it was Merc who said on a podcast somewhere, or maybe it was Chris Proctor, they don't ever want to have an auto rifle meta again. And that's because of what happened in D1 with Suros and Doctrine of Passing. And it's like, it gets to where people are just like, okay, I get it, and I was one of those people that was going hard with it. It was fun to me, but I don't think it was fun for the people on the other side. It kind of is like, what it's like? It's like Immortal. You know how Immortal can be so oppressive to play against. If you have auto rifles really strong, they get really like
and I'm in agreement with Chris Proctor, most definitely. Like, I was very much in line. I guess for me personally, it's not like I hate them. It's not like I hate necessarily even going against them per se, unless it's out of ban. But if it's out of ban, I'm not gonna like whatever it is. It doesn't matter whether it's an auto rifle or not. I just think that tracking with an auto rifle in Destiny 2 feels really, really, really good. I enjoy it whether it be PvE or PvP, but just really glad to have it back in PvE, because I just love tracking and switching targets in PvE with an auto rifle. It's one of my favorite things. So it was cool to see those buffs confirmed. I'm glad that you mentioned this in the pre-show. Remember I was talking about that mind benders with pulse monitor and quick draw? Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Is
confirmed.
Good?
That it goes. It's like the perfect defensive shotgun. which is exactly how I love shotgunning, because I love to just start with my, hand cannon as much as possible. And if people want to push on me, then that's fine. I'm probably going to be a little weak. I can instantly swap with pulse monitor, quick draw, instantly swap. And when I swap, it's going to be reloaded as well, because pulse monitor does that, right? It gives you that handling. Plus it also gives you a full reload on the magazine. Instantly swap and just like consistently hit the next person, whoever's coming up on me, who's probably going to be weak from my hand cannon already. I love it. It's one of my favorite to run in the energy spot, if not my favorite to run in the energy spot right now.
I'm happy for you, but I'm hurting in the inside because I need help right now, Tony. I need to know what shotgun to run now, which we're going to talk about one in a second. I'm excited to talk about one in a second, but I do need help. I need help in the shotgun department. I'll be honest about it.
I'll keep thinking about it. I'll keep thinking about what I can do for you in particular in the short term. I already have kind of like a quick answer for you. But you have an answer too that we'll talk about later with the basso, if that's how we pronounce it, So we'll definitely get into it. Now, to add insult to energy, the last thing before we get into Thursday's TWAB was we were talking about like Zen moment. And I know we've been trying to find a time to bring up the Zen moment buff. So if folks don't remember, the Zen moment, the perk got buffed. It now also reduces incoming flinch. The perk has been branched so that shots from different archetypes ramp up the effect more quickly. It goes from Zen moment ×1 to ×5, I believe. So I believe it's 5 stacks. Is that correct?
I haven't dove into Zen moment as much as you have, so I'm not sure on that information, how many stacks it gets.
Okay. We'll check into it. We'll correct it if not, but I'm pretty confident to say it's like 5. It's 5 stacks, but either way.
Yes, 5 stacks. That's right.
Got you. So the perk is branched so that shots from different archetypes ramp up the effect more quickly. So submachine guns, you get 1 time, along with auto rifles and machine guns. It's 1.5 times for pulse rifles and sidearms, and it's 2 times the effect for hand cannons and scout rifles. And so something that's been floating, the reason why I mentioned this, we've been trying to find a way to kind of like throw this into the discussion, is folks, try out your not forgottens and your Luna's Howls. Again, those things are really going hard with the Zen moment buff and the the 2 times potency for hand cannons and scout rifles, but specifically obviously for hand cannons. So check that out. And then I'm gonna add insult to injury on a roll that you can't get anymore. See, this is why Dado can't touch it. This is why Dado can't touch my vault, bro. The OG Hero's Burden. The great thing about the old Hero's Burden is that it had scopes and not sights, right? Scopes, not sights. And so the scopes ended up affording you extra zoom and or range, right? And so the OG Hero's Burden had a scope called the SPO57, which I have one that's still arguably my favorite PvP SMG that I own. And the SPO57 gives you +4 zoom, people. It gives you +4 zoom, and it gives you on top of that +15 range. So it just goes crazy. And so my role is like a snapshot kill clip, accurized rounds, SPO57, and I think a stability masterwork, and it just goes crazy. But just keep in mind that if you have one of those old ones or even a new one that has some good range on it, that as Zen moment comes on both of those, the old Hero's Burden and the new one. So definitely pull it out and try it out. If you've got something with Zen moment, it's kind of like it got a new lease on life. So you should definitely pull it out if it's on one of your favorite weapons or weapon archetypes or subfamilies. Try it out again, because you might fall in love again. So
man, I did not realize that the original, like the one you're talking about that has the scopes, it was able to roll Zen moment and dynamic sway together with that scope. But then they released a version of it after that didn't, and then the newest version, it can get that roll again, but you don't have the scope. So really, it's like you had to have gotten that roll during it was during the Forges season. So a season of the Forge, it looks like. Man, I'm not too upset. We got enough SMG madness going on right now. Of course, most definitely. But honestly, I love. It's cool suggesting. It's cool suggesting roles that are available.
that you can get right now, right? But I love it when people dig through their vaults and pull out like an old roll,
For sure.
I never want folks to feel the FOMO, but it's just nice, that folks save some rolls that they really, really enjoyed and loved. And then they come back around to it and they find like kind of like a new lease on it because, a perk got changed or even buffed. So yeah, it's just cool to rediscover it.
Well, we were talking about SMGs off this Zen Moment stuff. Do you want to dive into SMGs from the Thursday TWAB last week and what's going on?
I got you. So folks, we figured out what works for us. Like we've been drilling things down, like I'm that macro guy. I'm the macro guy that's going to go over, those insights that I see in the TWAB and whatnot. And Lego's that guy. He's going to drill you on the weapons. And then I'm going to come in and I'm going to kind of like, piece together maybe some parts, some things that I see or whatnot. But I'm learning just as much as you guys from him kind of helping us go over those weapons. And of course, I'm the hand cannons and the shotguns. I got you. Now, a side note, my God, we could always go on these side notes, but then I'm immediately getting to this Thursday TWAB is I'm falling in love with bows. I don't know why, bro. I know.
I'm shocked right now. Y'all didn't see it, but I jumped. I know.
He did. He did.
What?
I don't know why.
What bow are you using?
Somebody made a donation to, Tony put on this bow in comp. And I'm just like, oh my God, this is like, look, I'm ascendant right now. I'm not trying to run a bow right now, but also thank you for the donation. So yes, I put on a bow. I think I put on that Under Your Skin, that Zersold. That was a god roll, one. Right? It was hip fire opening shot. It was some good accuracy on both, maybe like fiberglass and like polymer string or something like that. And then accuracy masterwork. It was really, really nice. And I put it on and then I kept it on.
Yep. Dude, Under Your Skin, that's a good one. That's like one of the best to start on. That's pretty cool.
They're very, very much like hand cannons. Like, as long as you're not doing like, and I'm not judging per se, you know what I'm saying? But as long as you're not blinting, I'm not judging per se, but I kind of am. I'm sorry. But
this podcast being like built on bow and pulse rifle players, that
right. I'm really trying not to, bro. But
that's funny,
man. Like the thing that I've noticed about bows, see, we did get off on a tangent, is that very similar to how I feel about hand cannons. They're very rewarding to use and get a kill with.
Yeah,
there's a play style around them. There's a skill gap around them. It's cool, man. It's cool, and I think it's. Of all the recent additions of weapon archetypes in Destiny 2, it's got to be the one that I appreciate the most. Even before I picked one up and, used one a little bit in the Crucible, like I automatically appreciated, I guess, like Bungie dropping that new archetype on us because I saw the love that bow users have since day one. Like, folks love being Legolas, And I just think that's so cool. I just think it's so cool.
Dude, okay, I got to ask then. Did you happen to grab a gut shot straight roll of the new bow this weekend? Of course. Okay. I was just wondering because it's like my favorite. I know there's so many haters on it. Probably people listen to this like, Lego, what are you talking about gut shot straight on a bow? But dude, on that lightweight bow is so much fun because it's like 100 body shot damage on a lightweight,
crazy.
Just running around. I don't know. I love it. It's my favorite thing because of the in-air accuracy too, the airborne effectiveness of that one in particular. You can just pull the stupidest stuff off, and I think it's fun. Nobody else thinks it's fun. I feel like I'm alone in this, but
I don't know if you're alone in it, but like there's definitely some hate towards it. I definitely like people were just like, look, it was you saw the conflict in people's suggestions in my chat when I was like, getting some from the Lighthouse. They were just like, yeah, you should be looking for this. Oh man, I'm so glad you got that gut shot straight, but at the same time, God, why did another one have to drop in the Crucible where Tony is now actually trying out bows, So I mean, people are conflicted about it, but it's cool, and I definitely picked up a couple of those, based off of your recommendation and others. So anyway, let's get Thursday TWAB. I'm telling you, we have fun, people. I'm telling you, this is so much fun. Thursday TWAB, we got the Ikelos SMG. They said that it seemed to have much better stability than its stats would indicate that it should, and upon doing a deeper investigation, they found found that some custom tuning had actually been added to the weapon's scope to give it a recoil reduction effect. So they said it was something akin to Zen Moment at max strength. Holy. And it was always active.
So weird.
Yeah, I know. Game dev ain't easy. They removed the effect, and the recoil, they said, should now feel in line with other aggressive frame SMGs. Yep. So that's what they talked about. That's the first thing for the Thursday TWAB. Let me see. They also said that they have a larger change to aggressive subfamily of SMGs coming in season 21. Nice. They said that the change will be quote unquote targeted at shifting the resiliency threshold where the gun can achieve its optimal 0.67 seconds time to kill down, and they're trying to push it down to a lower level to force a more reasonable 0.77 seconds TTK against most players, while also decreasing their forgiveness of missed crits.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. Also decreasing their forgiveness of missed crits. So that's the change that they're trying to bring to the aggressive subfamily of SMGs, which was between that and looking at the stability. The fact that stability just isn't a factor on those things for the most part. Those are the two actually that I was thinking of. That were kind of like the low hanging fruit for changing the aggressive subfamily of SMGs. So I'm glad to see that.
Dude. I need to deep dive into like some dev's brain at Bungie to see if whatever was going on the Aquilos SMG is going on Zealot's Reward. I heard rumors about it, and I want to know because that gun is so cracked for a rapid fire fusion rifle, and it has no right to be, because it's basically like it's on paper the stats are bad. Like it shouldn't feel good, but it does. It should feel like Riptide, but it doesn't. It feels good, and it makes no sense, and everybody loves it. And I just want to know, like, is something going on like with what happened with the Aquilos SMG, or is it just like some side effect of the noise that it makes and the way the gun looks? People just love it because of that. I don't know.
There you go, Mark. There you go. Is something going on, Mark? Is something going on?
I want to know.
Well, that leads us into the next one. I was actually going to put this towards the end, but since we're already talking about it, just okay. So I'm gonna let you rock. I'm gonna go ahead and read the changes first, and then I'm gonna let you rock. All right.
Okay.
Rapid fire. This section, by the way, in the notes, by the way, everybody, is called Rapid Fire Fusion's Holy Blank Man. LOL. All right. So rapid fire fusions are getting increased burst damage by 15. So the damage per burst is going to go from 245 to 260, and then the damage per bolt is going from 27.2 to a whopping 28.9, with damage in PvE, of course, unchanged. So this change will push them back to defeating all resilience levels in 7 bolts and give them a decent bump to ease of use. I'm gonna let you rock. Rock, Lego. What do you think about this, Lego? I've never heard your opinion on this.
I've never talked about it at all. No. Okay. So I've been known in the Discord for Destiny Massive Breakdown saying rapid fires are good. Like they don't need anything, and if they get pushed just a little bit, I think they're going to be really good, like oppressive to play against. But also on the flip, like I have two sides of this. Like on one side, I'm like, I know what this is going to do for good fusion rifles, and then on the flip side of that, I think that the overall reaction to this is like way over the top. I'm like, y'all, it's not. So here's the deal. Here's like, if you want to reverse course on rapid fire fusion rifles, we'll go back to Witch Queen, where Likely Suspect was going off and Cartesian was going off because they were 7 bolting any resil just like this, but they also had a ton more stability. They also had like 2 to 4 meters more range. Like it was a ton more range. And there was one more thing. There was like 4 different things that they had. The charge time was faster. It was 0.46 charge time instead of 0.5. So they were faster, more stable, had way more range, and they did more damage than they do right now before this buff. And so all of the 4 of those things were nerfed, and they hit. It was an overall fusion change. It wasn't just rapid. It was all fusions are nerfed in this way, but because rapid fire fusion's base stats are so low, they got hit the hardest. Because they're already low and their stability's nerfed, their range is nerfed, and you're like, oh wow, okay. And so everybody stopped using them because they were like, this sucks, including me. I didn't really touch them either. I still think Cartesian is good. I still think Zealots is good, and I still think Cartesian is like really good. Like it's just so good at connecting the bolts with this high aim assist. My fear in buffing them is twofold. One is that the ones that are good will just become better, and the ones that are bad that nobody's using, like Riptide, Likely Suspect, Null Composure, people still aren't going to touch them because they're still going to be bad. All the things that were nerfed, stability, range, the charge time, like that all stays nerfed. The only thing that's changing here in this entire buff, to simplify it, is instead of being 0 to 5 Resil is a 7 bolt and 6 to 10 Resil is an 8 bolt, it's just going to be 7 bolt across the board.
Across the board.
So, so 0 to 5 Resil, if you're running that in the Crucible playing against a rapid fire, you're literally not even going to notice the difference. It doesn't change anything. It's just if you're running 6 to 10 Resil, you're going to be able to get 7 bolted by them. And so on one hand, not a big deal at all. On the other hand, the fusions that are already doing good with high impact reserves, or Cartesian that has like a ton of distance, or Iterative Loop, the new one that we will talk about today, that's pushing ranges never seen before on a rapid fire, which we'll get to because I can't believe it. Those ones, or has Kickstart, those ones are going to go just wild. Now, when I say go wild, I don't want that to be interpreted as they're going to jump in the trials chart. Nothing like that's going to happen, because people will hold on to their Zur ingredients for the rest of their life and never use anything else. Don't get me started. But all that said, like, it's not going to rise in the charts. It's just going to rise in the oppressive nature for like if you played me, Tony, in trials and I'm using a rapid fire, I'm just going to be more dangerous with it than I am now, and I already feel really dangerous with it. That's my whole point in all of this. Is
Gotcha.
I went on like, I'm a little afraid of this. I didn't want this. I think they're fine, but I also think, man, people are like really taking it to a level that, like, they're not getting a stability buff, they're not getting their range back, they're not getting their charge time back. It's literally just tiny bit, like, across the board resilience level consistency, so maybe some more people will use them is I think what the hope for Bungie is, because right now, before Iterative Loop came out, no one was using them except for like the tiniest percentage, and even after Iterative Loop, I think people will pull out Iterative Loop for a second and then they'll put it away, because it's just, people aren't just used to that playstyle. You have to play a very specific way.
Completely agree. Okay.
So what do you think about it? Like, when you heard it, I mean, I think people hear fusion buff and they're immediately like, whoa, get away from me. But what do you think about
it? Honestly, I was waiting to hear what you were going to say about it in detail, because that was going to round out my opinion. I don't know enough about fusions just at base to be able to kind of like parse. Somebody gives me a change to a hand cannon, to a shotgun, I can almost immediately tell you what that impact is likely going to be. A few other things, sniper rifles and a few other things that I'm really, really familiar with, right? But on fusion rifles, I'm going to defer to you first. And so after you talking about it, what it sounds like is it's going to make fusion rifle mains with really good, rolls, or even the playing into the iterative loop, gameplay loop. It's going to make them like, much, much better. Basically, it's going to give them a really, really good tool for that play style. But and I guess I'm definitely, after you gave me kind of the rundown on what was taken away versus what has been given back, I'm definitely just sitting in a wait and see mode, as long, me, as long as I can counter. I've told people a million times before, I don't mind fusion rifles because there's a charge time to them. That right there is the biggest, like downside to them, right? That's where you counter them, especially as a shotgun user. You're baiting a lot. You're listening for the charge time. I feel like there's a couple that have a really weak charge time audio cue, by the way.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Ooh, that Draconis go crazy. That thing go crazy, man. But the coolest name, by the way, I just want to say that too. I love the name for that. But that's the downside for the most part, and that's the space I like to play in when I'm talking about countering them. So I'm kind of just in a wait and see, but listening to what you've said about what's been taken away versus what's been given back, it's kind of just put me more into the wait and see, and hopefully folks that really enjoy fusioning get a better tool in order to continue to, mess around with that play style. And it doesn't become so oppressive that I see it all the time and I'm not able to actually like flex with my play style, right?
Yeah, and I don't think that'll happen. I honestly don't. Like, no one's gonna. Even when they were at their height, when I got #1 Rumble Play in the world with one of these, nobody else was using them. People just refused to learn that play style.
Yeah.
And I'm more concerned with the people who master it than the overall population. Like, I don't think we're actually going to see it that much, but I have more to say about it, but I'm going to save it for iterative loop because it falls specifically for that fusion. So I'll just wait to say anything else for it.
Okay. All right. I'll move through then and we'll keep it going. So let me see. Also, the Thursday TWAB talked about a buff to trace rifles. They're going to increase base damage by 4%. Base damage going from 12 to 12.5. They're going to reduce precision hit multiplier from 1.4x to 1.35x, meaning that crit damage is going to go from 16.8 to 16.9. They're also going to increase the effectiveness of stability at reducing flinch by 10% at the 100 stat value, which scales down at lower values, of course. So that'll be trace rifles. It looks like they, the way that they described it when I was reading is they said they were just increasing a little bit of the ease of use, but specifically the feel of trace rifles, trying to make them feel better, because they did a bunch of testing with trace rifles on changing the damage profile slightly up, down, sideways. And they said that, trace rifles are very, very good right now in that regard, and changing them, especially increasing that damage profile would have potentially made them pretty oppressive and kind of debalanced, or uncoupled the balance that the ammo economy has on trace rifles right now. I mean, that's the reason why trace rifles are mostly balanced right now, is because of that ammo economy surrounding them. So yeah, that'll be trace rifles, and then they're going to buff rapid. Ooh, this was a spicy one, I'm not gonna lie. Rapid fire sniper rifles reduce recoil by 50%. It's also going to be an increased total ammunition by 30%, but we can just set that to the side for right now. Reduce recoil by 50% on rapid fire sniper rifles.
It's needed, honestly, I think.
I mean, I'm not disagreeing with you, but Cloud Strike, baby, #4 in trials. It has been slowly but surely creeping up in the usage stats for trials and in the Crucible in general. #4 with 2% of the kills in trials this past weekend. So it's not like I'm saying I'm alarmed or, I don't really have so much of a feeling about it, but man, Cloud Strike been going crazy. Cloud Strike gonna continue to go crazy.
Yeah, but is that going to affect Cloud Strike? Isn't exotics usually individually tuned like that?
It's a rapid fire sniper rifle.
Yeah,
I thought that, it was going to get the buff.
I think you're right. I think it is going to affect it, but I don't know. So here's the thing with rapid. I feel like this is more of a PvE change than a PvP change, because
that's what they said. They did say that.
Yeah, because like reducing recoil, like you're taking that one shot, like maybe that second shot. I feel like most people either hit that first shot or they don't. So I don't feel like it's really going to affect PvP that much. But for the rest of the rapid fire snipers, I don't know. Like, just I feel like outside of Cloud Strike, no one's really using stuff that
I would agree with that.
Once in a while I'll see one, but
hey, I'm not saying I'm alarmed by it. I just know that, Cloud Strike is going kind of crazy right now as far as usage. I'm not saying that it's oppressive. I'm not saying that it's a weapon that, is maligned by me like Le Monarch. I can't stand that gun. But I'm just saying, it's just something to kind of throw additionally into the pot on Cloud Strike for the Cloud Strike mains out there. So I more so find it interesting than I do, find it alarming. So yeah, just kind of interesting. It's just kind of interesting. Also, the final warning, exotic sidearm, no longer, this is just for completeness, these two, and then the last one is kind of the chonker. Final warning, exotic sidearm, no longer locks onto targets through Titan barricades. So that's that. Thought I'd mention it just because it was there, The revision 0 as well, I'll mention this, just because it was there. 4 times the charm will now be reset when entering Hunter's Trace. Also, increased PvE damage of the Hunter's Trace rounds and Hake heavy heavy burst rounds by 25% and 75% respectively. Just thought, again, for completeness. Terra Bra, though. Terra Bra. That's what we started calling it.
I'm so glad about this, honestly. Like, do you feel that way? I'm just
I'm so
please.
glad. I'm so glad.
Okay.
Whereas you heard me earlier when I was just like rapid fire snipers, Cloud Strike, blah, blah, blah. I'm not, I don't really feel two ways about that. I feel very, very much one way about this. The Terra Bra is what we started calling it. Reduced the amount of Ravenous Beast energy generated when taking damage from 3% to 1%, making activation more difficult to account for the substantially more survivability or increased survivability in today's sandbox versus that of the past. And so we're going to get that changed. And we're also, for measure, also going to get a reduced zoom on the Terra Bra from 16 to 15. So very reasonable changes to this SMG that is just, I mean, I would say not even sometimes, oftentimes just impossible to fight. Impossible.
Okay, this was the test for me when I discovered like, oh, I'm really digging iterative loop. Was when I was facing Terabas. Like, there was one guy who had Ravenous Beast procced, and I killed him like mid Ravenous. I was like, no way did I just pull that out. Like, just, you have to play it perfectly, but whenever that happens from a decent distance, and I'm like, okay, this fusion's pretty good.
Well, you along with other fusion rifle mains have just over and over told me how fusion rifles are one of the best counters, if not the best counter to SMGs in this SMG meta. So I can believe it. The last thing from Thursday's TWAB, which is kind of a big one. So I don't really know why I didn't say this one first, but here we go, people. Bungie also dropped this little nugget that they'll be quote unquote investigating decoupling damage fall off from Zoom. This would be paired alongside a refresh of the base damage fall off values to compensate. So this should supposedly allow Bungie to better control the engagement ranges of individual archetypes, while at the same time letting them continue to use Zoom as a tuning knob for weapon feel without dramatically changing their performance. So
wow,
the way that it was described to me, and maybe you can clarify if I'm saying it correctly, is kind of decoupling in a large way, decoupling Zoom from range in the way that they currently play together. Is that, am I thinking about that correctly?
Range would be one way. It's more like I think damage fall off is really the key word.
The key word, okay.
Decoupling damage fall off, because Zoom does like a ton of different stuff that changes the feel of the gun. It plays into almost literally every stat, but damage fall off in particular, like that's the reason, or one of the main reasons I look for rangefinder on fusions, is because it's changing that magnification stat that's really pushing, or even zoom stat too on a fusion. It's just magnification will really push it out, but zoom stat on anything will push off that damage fall off to let you, like on a hand cannon, like compete at those ranges where you need to fight a pulse rifle or something like that. True. And whenever they decouple that, it literally is going to change the entire sandbox, and that sounds like so much work to me to individually tune the base damage fall off. I don't know how they're gonna. That sounds like a ton of work for Bungie, but it also sounds like it would be a really good thing, because right now the only thing I'm chasing on fusions is essentially magnification, which Zoom plays a part in. And so if they could decouple that somehow, it would make the choice between weapons so much more interesting. Because right now it's kind of boring when magnification is the only thing I'm chasing. They didn't use the word magnification in this, but Zoom kind of implies that that's the thing that tunes the magnification. So I'm assuming that's what they're talking about here. And I would think it's a very good thing. I'd be excited for it. I don't know how they're going to pull that off, but I'd be excited for the diversification of the sandbox at that point, because we wouldn't see the same thing all the time. It would actually be interesting to see what perks and stats people went for outside of Zoom. Totally. And, any archetype that is heavily dependent, its viability in the sandbox that's heavily dependent upon Zoom, it's going to get more interesting. Just like Lego said, it's going to get more interesting after this one. And another good example of that would be SMGs. The reason why a lot of these SMGs are popping up to the top of the usage stats, right, is because of their unique Zoom over another one. There's a reason why Borrowed Time, with its higher Zoom
zoom stats. The reason why multi-mock, especially before its zoom stat got tuned down, got reduced. Same thing with Shire, is all of these meta SMGs have higher end zoom stats, and then SMGs that you just don't hear about too much in PvP in particular, you can pretty much bet that they don't. So yeah, I completely agree that this is going to make things more interesting, and that it's a huge endeavor for Bungie and the weapons team. So kudos to them, and I look forward to it.
Same.
And it's a change that it has been coming for a long time. That I look forward to. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's just talk about, we got this Wednesday TWAB that literally dropped today. We're recording on Wednesdays now, yeah, but I don't know what to call it, the W TWAB. It's the Win TWAB. Usually, lately, it has been. There's just a few, we'll fly through this so fast because it's new. We're not able to really deep dive into a lot of it. It's stuff we don't have yet, but they did kind of like a Season 21 preview, and I'll just hit this first thing real quick that caught my attention right away was new mods for Armor Charge, and the reason this caught my attention was because I went on Twitter when the Destiny 2 team account on Twitter asked for feedback. They were like, hey, what's some stuff you'd like to see feedback for? And my thing that I posted was for basically this elemental charge mod. I said, hey, the Fire Sprites artifact mod that lets you get charged with light when you pick up a Fire Sprite, we need that for everything, because it would be so interesting if everyone was chasing these things rather than just orbs, and it would open up all these options for all the subclasses. And so we're getting these new mods. One of them is called Powerful Attraction, that makes you collect all orbs instantly when you use your class ability. It's like within a certain set of meters, so that way you don't have to run and chase it. You just dodge, put up a barricade, you get the orbs, you get charged with light, or not charged, armor charge. And then there's another one, Elemental Charges, which this one, if you collect your subclass collectible like a Fire Sprite, this season's artifact mod, or Ionic Traces, you have an escalating chance to give you an armor charge. I understand why they made it an escalating chance. I wish it just would have given it to you, because we got Reaper. That's the easiest orb armor charge thing generation, you can do. Yeah. Why not just give this it too? Maybe that would be too much armor charge running around, but regardless, I'm glad there's an option for it, and I feel like I've been seen by the Bungie Destiny 2 team's Twitter account, so thank you.
Love it. Yeah, and just for completeness, people, the more powerful attraction or elemental charge mods you equip, right? So for powerful attraction, again, use your class ability, and within a certain set of meters, within a certain range, you collect all the orbs around you, right? And so if you end up equipping more powerful attraction mods, then you end up increasing that range with which you pick up when you use that class ability. And I believe it's the same thing for elemental charge. The more mods you equip of elemental charges, then you have an ever increasing, like an increased escalating chance nice. Of giving you an armor charge when you pick up a Fire Sprite or Ionic Trace. So that'll be interesting. And I'm definitely into this. I got nothing. I'm pleased. Let me see. You said I'll go ahead and run through yours because those are pretty quickly, but we'll be getting trials sooner, since there isn't as much of a power grind, or they're just saying in general they're going to be more thoughtful about when trials appears after a season starts. If there's not much of a power grind, then they're going to basically bring trials in a little sooner than when they may have in the past. Right now, it just seems like there's a set time frame, a certain number of weeks, and then trials appears. But if there's not much of a power grind at the beginning of the season, then we can go ahead and get to it and go ahead and get trials. And I'm glad that they've thought about that and are making that change.
Which, thank you, Bungie. I appreciate no light level grind specifically.
Yeah, true.
And also, I think that this is going to be the new trials, like the new two different pools, no more flawless pool, and it's no more card based, it's just connection based. So I'm really excited if we get that week one.
Got you.
That's going to be an exciting week one of a new season. I'm very excited for that. That's all I wanted to say about it.
Yeah, slowly but surely, I haven't even noticed it happening, but slowly but surely I'm doing more trials again. I didn't anticipate
fun,
that,
yeah.
plan for that, expect that. So clearly something's going on here. Something's happening, and we're just slowly but surely getting all of these pieces together, right? The sandbox, weapons, abilities, et cetera, et cetera. Trials, week 1 coming in where there's no power grind. So I applaud all the thoughtfulness, all the mindfulness behind each of these changes that is incentivizing me to play my favorite game mode more and more versus how much I've played just in general pub, non-private match Crucible in the last year. So kudos. I'm not even going to mention the shoot. I'll mention it because I wrote it here. Shoot the loot's getting to buff people. You can pick up orbs next. I don't even know why I wrote it there. That's such a small note. I think I mentioned it because I love shoot the loot, honestly, on my scout rifles.
A lot of people do. Yeah.
In high level in-game PvE. You see some heavy sitting on the ground over there, and I giggle every time. I don't know why. It's just my thing. I giggle every time I'm on stream, and I'm just like, hee, I can shoot it right here, and I get it, and I'm just so impressed with myself.
I've seen a lot of people just keep that on hand and swap to it mid-encounter, mid-boss fight, swap to it, shoot all the loot, and then swap back to whatever. I think it's an interesting strat. I've still never gotten on top of it because I'm just not that PvE hardcore, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, well, the only reason why it was even on my radar is because you used to be able to, there was some glitch where if you had explosive payload and shoot the loot on, for example, the Solar Suro Scout Rifle World Drop. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head, but it would actually give you back double heavy.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. So, these little things. Let's see. Do you want to hit the exotic armor focusing and then I can finish up?
Yeah. So the exotic armor stuff, they're adding increase the exotic drop rates from both Legend and Master, Lost Sector. Love to see it. And then they're upgrading. This is coming next season, upgrading more than 15 of our lower performing exotic armors and rolling out balance changes to several others. So pump for that as well. And they're adding in a way to focus this exotic armor. And so right now it's so frustrating. If you want to get exotic armor, you got to do these specific things and get the stuff, or just pray maybe by chance I will get this one exotic that I'm looking for, and it's just so difficult to get it. And so now they're doing two things. They're actually adding it to where in the Vex, it's like the exotic public event on Neomuna. Whenever you do that, you have an escalate. It's not just an escalate. It's like a lot. I can't remember the word for it. Not lockout, but it's lockout of the exotics you already have. It will give you a new exotic, which is really cool. And that way you don't have to specifically go and do lost sectors. There will be another way you can do it. And then on top of that, you'll be able to focus the old exotic armor, any of them, specifically. You can do it either by category, and it costs less exotic engrams for you to do that, or you can do it very specifically by an exotic, this specific exotic that you want.
Specific exotic, yeah.
It's very expensive,
and
but
of course, it's very expensive. It costs an exotic cipher.
Yeah.
It costs 3 ascendant shards, some glimmer, and maybe something else. But nonetheless, you do get immediately the exotic that you want. And then, of course, you can equip your ghost mods and those sorts of things in order to give you stats in categories that you want as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool. And then they're changing stuff with the commendation stuff. I don't really have much to say about this. I know that they're trying. It really just does not sound like the system for me. Even the changes they have planned, I'm it just doesn't, nothing about it. There was one sentence in there that was about finding ways for players to play the way they want to play. It kind of read like that, but it wasn't very clear. And as long as the system is telling me I'm a good guardian if I do blank not PvP, then the system's not for me, clearly, because I love PvP and I interact with the other parts of the game, but only if I'm chasing loot or want to do a fun thing with my friends. That's really the reason. It's not that I don't enjoy it. It's just I don't want to go bang my head against the wall for 4 hours against a very specific thing just for a rank. It's just not for me. That's how I feel about it. They could make all these changes, but none of them are gonna make me want to interact with it.
Yeah, I feel you. For me, I like what they said. This is something that I've said before. They said that commendations are meant to create cycles of gratitude so that players are thankful for one another. And whether you like give a commendation or not, hopefully it'll just kind of spark that cycle of gratitude in people's mental. I really like that aspect of kind of creating, incentivizing, cultivating a positive community.
I do like that idea.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're working towards a way to implement that specifically in PvP. Like, it's just like a no-brain, I guess I'll give this person an award. And you don't even look at what the award says. You literally just click on a card. And if there was a way to incentivize that somehow, great. I would love that system, but it's just nothing here says that to me, and nothing in the game says that to me currently either, but I hope to see it. I hope they get that right, because it would be cool. They have it in Overwatch. That's the main game I think of when I see like commendation and like, oh, you did, because when I'm a newbie to Overwatch, like I jump in just to play with friends every once in a while, and when I jump in and I get like an award for literally anything, I'm like, what? I was good for like a match? What? And right now in Destiny, it means not like if I get an award, it's like, oh, they just quickly just did it for, because they have to give out
because we're incentivized to give them out.
Exactly. Yeah. So if they figured out some other way to do that, that would be great.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I could definitely relate. But they did say that they're adding 5 seconds to the commendation phase at the end of PvP matches. But whenever I read that, basically, I was thinking about, well, there's still no way to give commendations to people who left the match early. Yeah. So, I know there's probably some exploit that they're thinking of to try to avoid, and that's the reason why you can't give. That's what I'm thinking, at least. I'm not sure why that's the case, but
it would be cool if they could add that to where, like, when you look back at your post game and you haven't given your commendations, you could do it there. That would be cool, because you could do that while you're looking for your next game. That would be awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like that'd be like the perfect place, because I'd love to go ahead and queue up so I can get into the next game as quickly as possible. But during the queue would be the downtime, so I could just kind of maximize my time. I think that'd be dope. So it'll be interesting. I mean, commendations for me, I'm not disappointed or super excited about them. I just recognize that it's a 1.0 system. I recognize and applaud the mindset behind why they exist. And I know that the commendations team will eventually get them in a place. I know they're excited about it, so I know they'll eventually get them in a place that hopefully will work for us, specifically as PvP players, but will, more closely align with the goals behind the system itself. So I guess for completeness, for the season 21 preview, we're also going to get some buffs and adjustments to more than a dozen exotic weapons, including Graviton Lance and Salvation's Grip. And we're also... Oh, I forgot about this. This is the last thing. It's kind of like that nugget talking about Zoom in the Thursday swap from last week. A sweeping rework of weapon hipfire reticles to better display useful information to players. And that might sound like it's a small thing, but I feel like this is going to be kind of a big deal. We've talked about in the past how the kind of nuanced changes to the reticles end up subconsciously and consciously affecting how we play in the game to the benefit of the weapon that we're using. And I imagine that is the goal of the reticle changes just in general, giving us that information that we see on the screen when we're using the weapon, where we consciously and subconsciously take that information into account, and that changes maybe how we play with that specific weapon to its benefit. So yeah, I'm excited to see this. I'm really
wondering, because they have in parentheses here, accuracy, aim assist, charge state, exotic hurt state. What is this going to look like?
It's got to be a lot of information.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's cool.
I know they're going to kill it. They wouldn't just introduce something like this and it be like information overload for the most part. So I know that however they end up integrating this information, it's going to be clean. And I'm super looking forward to it. It seems like it's something that they've been working on for a long time, since before, obviously, we saw this latest kind of 1.0 iteration come through with reticle hipfire reticles. I guess the best example would be with shotguns, right? To kind of distinguish the different spread pellet patterns for each shotgun. So yeah, super exciting stuff coming season 21.
Nice. Well, before we get down to our weapons breakdown, first, we have to thank some new Guardians for their generous support. We've got Lil Hobo, Prankster, and Sparky Oil 2 Junior, Sparkle 2 Junior. I think I pronounced that right. Thank you so much for your pledge.
Most
and
definitely.
Thanks to all ongoing patrons for keeping the lights on. You make this show happen. And then we also want to thank our ongoing sponsor guardians who give on a massive level every month. Thank you all so much. We've got ASCII and Monk, Binary Wolf, Black Hammer Tech, Bryce Aroni, Deacon, Moonlight, Shazzle, This Moment, Zen SoCal, Sylv, and a Modern Viking. A new one. Thank you so much. I took my time to say every one of them slower this time. I felt like I flew through them last time, but really I wanted to say everyone's name here because thank you so much.
Most definitely. If you'd like to support the show, please visit DestinyMassiveBreakdowns.com and click on the link to Patreon. You'll get access to a members only channel in the Discord, always great. Behind the scenes info and input on the future of the show, plus access to our legendary annual merch drop. As a reminder, you can also earn a shout out by leaving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Ratings are great, but the reviews really help us to spread the word and get more ears tuned in every week. And we also have a 5-star review courtesy of Allman, yes, on Apple Podcasts. So we have a new one. Allman says, great podcast for all Destiny fans, 5 stars. In parentheses, don't tell Merc and Kutch, but that I think that. Says, the 2 new hosts have taken this podcast to a ceiling I had hoped the show would one day get to. I've been a listener for many years, and as someone who is extremely knowledgeable about the game, to me, it feels like this show is me and my friends getting all giddy about the game, and it's such a refreshing feeling. The new hosts have such an infectious joy about the game. I can't wait for new episodes to come out. Truly is my favorite podcast out there.
Dang.
P.S. Y'all should try Boots of the Assembler, Lumina, and Frozen Orbit with high impact reserves. That sound like some contraband. Another thing no one's talking about is prolonged engagement that also gets target lock and can get to 19 plus meters with the same TTK as the current iteration of Immortal. So anybody out there trying to get that niche role that can compete to a degree with the Immortal with target lock, and is on a lightweight SMG as well, the prolonged engagement. You can get it from the Vanguard, then look no further. But thank you so much, Allman, for the kind words. That's definitely the feel where you mentioned me and my friends. It's like the show is me and my friends getting all giddy about the game. And it's just such a refreshing feeling. That's exactly the feel that we're going for.
That's the vibe here too, y'all. Me and Tony.
Exactly.
We're just getting pumped. Even pre-show, we're like, oh, dude, but what about this combo? And,
man. we probably, during the pre-show, we probably come up with 2 new builds that we end up relaying, when we actually get to the show. Stuff that we had never even thought of before because we're just bouncing off of each other during the pre-show. And then on top of that, during the pre-show, we're just, at this point, we have gotten kind of the timing down, like for when we start the pre-show and what type of work needs to go in like before the show and stuff like that. Now it's just us kind of forcing ourselves to actually start the show because
I know, right?
we're just both of us are just going back and forth. Hey, what about this? What about this? What did you think about this? Did you see what they put right there? Did you see what Merc said? This is crazy. So yeah, that's exactly the feeling, but it's genuine. It's genuine. So I'm glad that you guys enjoy it because we love being here.
And Almond, are you synced up with me or something? Because I have done both of these things that you're talking about. I literally, the high impact reserves Frozen Orbit, I searched for one of these for so long to do exactly what you're talking about because I was trying to make a build, not for me, but to help people who were struggling with supporting their teammate and just wanted something to just back them up. And that high impact reserve sniper is such a disgusting build because you can buff your teammates with Lumina. So if you have aggressive teammates but you're more relaxed, you use Lumina, get the buff, you buff your teammates, and then you swap to your high impact reserve sniper and you can do some body one shots.
That's a one shot body shot.
So it's like a deadly thing both ways. So I actually used it. I think I used it in trials a bit the season I was working on it because it's been around for a while. And then on top of that, last season I was using that SMG you're talking about, the prolonged engagement, and I have the target lock role and was loving it. So I'm definitely with you on that. I think it's a really good SMG. It doesn't compete with the Immortal head to head, but I thought it was really fun when a lot of people were crapping on it. So I'm with you.
Yeah, and it's a lightweight too. Lightweights feel really good for SMGs. I feel like they are some of the most high ease of use. I don't know. There's something about the sight and the zoom on it that just feels really rewarding to use. I think that's the reason why a lot of people really love like funnel web, right? So great suggestions. And I'll double down on the fact that Boots of the Assembler with Lumina, even without anything else, just is fun.
It
is so much fun. Seriously. So if you haven't tried Boots of the Assembler with Lumina, or even just well, those two together, I'd say those two together, definitely try it out, especially if you're a hand cannon person like myself. It's a lot of fun. It's a very support heavy build that you really just don't have to do much other than do what you normally do on a Warlock, right? Put down rifts and slay out. So
y'all shouldn't have brought this. Y'all shouldn't have brought this to my attention, because I had kind of forgotten about it. And now that I'm thinking about it again with all the Surge mods,
thanks, Allman.
Y'all are gonna mess me up. Y'all are gonna make me one shot with Le Monarch again, and I know.
Stop.
Get me away from it. I'm gonna go down a bad path here.
Allman, you started it. He's gonna finish it. I
will.
And finally, thanks to the Destiny Massive Breakdowns editors, Nettie Smith and Autodidactos, for their hard work on this show and Podcast versus Enemies, the Destiny PvE show. That explains it all. If you think we sound great, know that it's because of these two. So thank you so much to our editors.
Okay, y'all. Let's talk about some Neomuna weapons.
Let's do it, baby. Let's get into it.
Okay, first things first. We're going to hit round robin like first thing. I'm so pumped to talk about. But there's something that every single one of these weapons has that you need to think about, and that is the origin trait Tracer Rockets. I've hinted that it works based off your magazine, and we're going to dive deep and hear exactly what it does, because I think it might be one of the most slept on perks in Lightfall. Every time I watch a YouTube review, nobody talks about the Tracer Rockets, and I think they totally change the game of these weapons, because they come into effect if you're consistently just playing normally, if you're staying alive and hitting your shots consistently. And let me explain that. So the Tracer Rockets at base, when you use a certain percentage of your mag, you'll shoot out this rocket that does 14 impact damage and then 15 explosive damage. I actually thought it was two rockets at first when I first used it, the first episode we aired for the season.
Yeah, I remember. Yep.
Yeah, but it's just one impact damage. It's 14 damage, and then it explodes and does 15 damage, so 29 total.
Okay, so it's kind of like explosive payload in that regard. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, and not only that, but they're buffed by any buff that you have, empowering, surge, or a weapon buff. It affects this damage. So remember that.
Now that's interesting. Now I wonder, so I have a question. Yeah. Do you think that that's the case for explosive payload? If there is some sort of like empowering buff, do you think that explosive payload gets okay?
Yeah. Right. And so, but this is important for these weapons. It's going to change some stuff with the TTK, with resilience checks, all that. This will help. And so the way these rockets work is, it says it's based off of, you have to get multiple hits in a row based off a certain percentage of your magazine. For most weapons, it's 45% of your magazine. For grenade launchers, it's 30%. And for machine guns, it's 25%.
Okay.
But for most, it's 45%. And I'll go into, as we go through these weapons, how many shots you need to hit. But the important thing here, other than the damage stacking and the actual damage numbers, and I was testing this the other day because I was kind of blowing my mind in Crucible. I would be using the hand cannon, and then all of a sudden a Tracer rocket would come out. And I was like, I haven't shot someone in so long. Why is this Tracer rocket still active? And it's because it's within about 7 seconds is how long you can go between your hits. Like, it doesn't have to be boom, 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 then Tracer rocket. It can be like boom, count to 7, boom, count to 7, boom, count to 7, and then Tracer rockets on your next shot, as long as it's within 7-second window. So it could be like 20 seconds between your first shot and your final shot, and you'll still get a Tracer rocket.
Okay. Now, man, I have some questions. So first question is base mag or magazine? Say you have extended mag.
It counts that.
Okay, that's the first question.
So
second
it's not
question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Mag. No, you're good.
It's not just base mag. Got you. The second question was, what was it, Tony? What was it? It was, can you backpack And what I mean by backpack is kind of like with Ace of Spades. That's where that term originally came
I don't
from
think
for
so.
me.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think so because it's consecutive, and if you miss it, like, you know, it won't count. You have to hit those shots in a row.
What about the trace rocket itself? You end up qualifying. So what I mean by backpack, people, is can you stow the weapon, pull it back out, and then continue to like work towards the perk? And so like Lego is saying no to that. But then once you get the tracer rocket, can you backpack that?
No, because it kind of all works together, like the 7 seconds and the consecutive hits. It's not like it gives you a buff that says tracer rocket ready. It just sends it out in the moment that you hit that shot. Does that make sense?
Is that right? Okay. When you finally like successfully like make the perk happen, that's like on that shot, it actually sends out the tracer rocket.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
So it's not like on demand. It's more like it just procs like, okay, I see you've hit, this is your 4th shot. It's kind of like when 4th time's the charm procs or something like that. It just, at the moment you hit
happens.
It gives it to you. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I was starting to giggle to myself because I was starting to think that like it just randomly sent out a trace rocket. Like you had it stowed in your pants, you had your shotgun out, and it's just a trace
that's
rocket. That's
what it feels like sometimes. I'm telling you, if you're not paying attention and you don't know how it works, that's what it feels like. You're like, oh, I randomly killed that guy. How'd that? I even have one clip. Get this. This is so funny. And this will happen to you if you use these weapons, and I love it. It's so great for 6s. I was using the hand cannon to do some 2-tapping stuff we're going to talk about here.
Okay.
So I got 3 shots, golden tricorn active. I got a 2-tap, and then I move across the map and I start shooting the next group of people that are spawning in their spawn, and I was finished a guy with 1 shot just randomly. He was hurt by some teammates and I shot him, and the tracer rockets went out. They don't always go at the intended target. So that guy died and the tracer rocket went to some other guy around the corner and finished him, and I got another kill. And I was like, what? What just happened?
Well, they are called tracer rockets. They are called tracer rockets. Okay.
So it's good. It's good. 29 damage randomly to somebody else because there's no damage fall if it just goes and hits them, and so it's pretty awesome. I really like this perk.
Interesting.
So let's dive into how it works. We got round robin. First, right off the bat, an aggressive frame hand cannon, 79.9 crits and 50 to the body. At base, it's a 1 second time to kill against any Resil. That's 2 crits and 1 body for the 1 second TTK, which sounds terrible, but I mean, you've talked about it a lot, Tony. Aggressive frames are pretty good right now.
They're the best. I argue that they're the best subfamily of hand cannon in play right now for the Crucible. Yeah, and I talked about it last time, so I'm not going to talk about it again this time. But just based on what is currently meta in the Crucible, they are fantastic. And certainly, I would say, especially when we're talking about competitively. Yeah, I think they're really great peak shooting and even using as like cleanup tools. Stats-wise, this gun is actually really average to not great. It has the worst aim assist value of all the aggressive frames at 58, and has the second worst stability at 50. The only thing worse is Loud Lullaby, which is very similar to this one. And like I said earlier, like none of the Neomuna weapons, the stats are that great, but it has a lot of perks. It has the tracer rockets, and that's what I love on it. So before we get into our recommendations as to like what perks we're looking for on this thing and what perks it runs with and kind of talk about all that, I want to talk about the ways that you can damage stack and get the 2-tap. Yeah. Yep, and I've got to mention this as well. So while it may have the second worst stability at 50, keep in mind that the recoil direction at base is actually quite high at 97. That's nothing to balk about on a 120, like where a lot of 120s have like 85 and, maybe like, like something where you might have to put like counterbalance on it or something like that.
True.
So while the stability might be at 50, at base, it's pretty much got perfect recoil direction up and down.
That's true.
At 97. And on a 120, I've found that to be pretty impactful to the point where oftentimes I really do put counterbalance. I mean, unless it's like 95 and above, Igneous has 95, so I don't put it on that. But something like True Prophecy, I put counterbalance on it. I put counterbalance on it, and it's beneficial. So for those weapons that don't, those hand cannons in particular that don't have a lot of stability at base, I've just found that greatly improving improving their recoil direction, especially if you can get it up to 100, is hugely beneficial to counteract that. So something to kind of keep in mind. And, I can probably get into some of the nuances of why that might be the case, but just know that if you're just like, man, this thing doesn't have a lot of stability and that's affecting me, put a counterbalance mod on it and give it another shot. And I almost guarantee that most folks are going to see some benefit in that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Especially for me, I would notice something like that, but not really think about it, and you verbalize it. So thank you for that. So
yep.
Let's talk about the damage stacking first here, and then we'll jump into kind of the specific stats we're rolling for.
Let's do it. Let's do it, baby.
I think the forefront of everyone's mind is going to be kill clip. That's the one that I see everyone jump to immediately. It makes sense. Kill clip, you can 2-tap up to 9 results with just kill clip. Now we've got surge mods. So just with a surge ×1, nothing else, which you can probably get if you're running Reaper. You do a dodge, you get a kill, you got kill clip active, you pick up the Orge, you got surge ×1 active, you're 2-tapping any Resil. You can also do this with Radiant. I see a lot of people do that. I'm at the place now where it's nice to know what Radiant can do, but I'm almost never running it unless I'm being very intentional, build heavy, I'm going for a 2-tap. But if I just want to play the game, I'm not running Radiant, I'm looking for something like a Surge mod. So keep that in mind with the kill clip. And then with I don't want to say what my favorite is yet. There's a few options here. But there's some other options here. We got Harmony. That's a 2-tap up to 5 Resil. But if you run it with 2 Surge mods, you're 2-tapping any Resil with Harmony. Radiant will do the same thing, but you just don't always need Radiant. If you're running Harmony, that means you got to kill beforehand with your other weapon. Maybe we're running Reaper and you got an Orb, Surge ×2, any Resil. And that is a pretty long timer. You got 3 seconds to activate it, and then it's activated for 7 seconds once you swap. So it's 10 seconds is a long time total if you time it right. Much longer than kill clip. And then Golden Tricorn, which lasts 7 seconds at ×1. Golden Tricorn activates just on a kill. It's basically better version of Rampage. I stand by it. It will not 2-tap on its own, but with a Surge mod ×1, it's up to 4 Resil. Surge ×2, it's up to 5 Resil. And if you're running Surge ×3, it's up to 6 Resil. And if you're running Radiant, Golden Tricorn will 2-tap anything. So very good to know, because that's 7 seconds of Rampage, basically, 2-tap.
Okay.
And then I've got to say this is my personal favorite, because this is the Trace Rockets. It's so cool. With the Trace Rockets, how it activates on this weapon in particular, it will activate on your 4th shot. So 1, 2, 3, you get a kill, and then your next shot shoots out a Tracer Rocket. So that's that 29 extra damage. So if you're running a Surge ×3, if you've got that stacked up, that Tracer Rocket will let you 2-tap up to 9 Resil with no damage perk. You don't have any damage perks. No kill clip, no Harmony, no Golden Tricorn, just the Tracer Rocket's going to go off, and with your Surge ×3, you're going to 2-tap up to 9 Resil.
Woo-wee! Okay.
It was pretty good. And then so you could stack, what I think is interesting is a lot of this stuff stacks together. Kill clip, Harmony, Golden Tricorn. Maybe Golden, this is the one that gets me. Maybe Golden Tricorn doesn't on its own 2-tap, and maybe you don't run Surge mods. Maybe you run Golden Tricorn ×1 and you rely on your 4th shot being the Tracer Rocket to get the 2-tap. So you don't even have to worry about Surge mods. And this is what happened to me a lot, is Golden Tricorn was one of the first rolls I had on it. I was just playing around with it. I don't have any buffs, don't have anything going, and I just 2-tap someone randomly. Like, what the heck just happened? And roll back the clip. Tracer Rocket went off on the 4th shot, and it was just easy 2-tap. No problem.
I could see that. I could definitely see that happening in trials with the way that I play with my hand cannon. I could definitely see that happening. The second person just done. That's a good point. Yep. Okay. I've been leaning as far as a damage perk, like kill clip. I don't like reloading. Yes, I don't either. I understand that kill clip is definitely the go-to if you want those 2-taps. It's the closest that you're gonna get to like that OG, Rampage ×1, 120 meta style 2-tap. After just one kill. But I don't like reloading. Like reloading to me, especially like it starts to get into kind of compulsively reloading. Because you're used to that kill clip. So I like things like Rampage. I like things like Golden Tricorn. So that's actually quite appealing to me to put Golden Tricorn on it and rely on the Tracer Rocket for that second one. Because, you know, if you 3-tap the first person, the second person is going to get 2-tapped, right?
Yeah.
So,
and remember, you know, if you're running something like Under Pressure, which is an option here, you don't want to be reloading because you want that bottom of the mag as you go to keep making you more accurate.
That's
and
true.
if you're running something like Golden Tricorn and Under Pressure together, those synergize to keep you rolling and keep you in that mag. So something to remember for this one for sure.
Okay. I like it.
So there is a few more 2-taps here. One thing to remember with, you know, we're playing with a lot of overshields. We've been talking about the overshields with your Omcar stuff, but you know, it can get frustrating when you're trying to do damage stacking like this and there's something like an overshield. The Tracer Rocket can stack to do so much damage that it deals with the overshield. So say you're running Harmony on it. You get a kill, you've got that Surge, you stack a Surge ×3 on it from the orb pickup. You swap to your weapon with Harmony, and say you get 1 kill, and then your next kill, like say you get the 2-tap on someone who doesn't have an overshield, and then your next 2-tap, you shoot 2 shots. The 4th shot sends out the Tracer Rocket. Between the Tracer Rocket, Surge ×3, and Harmony, you'll deal enough damage to 2-tap a 7 Resil Guardian that had a Void Overshield.
Wow.
Now, not everyone, you know, of course, Titan's going to be running 10, but in 6s, a lot of times there are teammates who grabbed an Overshield from a Titan that are running around.
And keep
with
in
the Void
mind,
Overshield.
Echo Vigilance on Void subclass across the board now too.
Oh,
you know,
right.
You just get a Void Overshield from being Red Bar, right?
That's
from having no
true.
shields, and then you get a kill, so they end up getting an Overshield. So that's Hunters. That's Hunters right there. There's plenty of Hunters that are running, you know, less than 7, right? And myself included, I run 6 at most.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying any of this is going to be common, but I just want to throw out all the options here so you can see how things start stacking with the Tracer Rockets and the Kill and the Surge mods. It can get pretty crazy. There's one
I always find it sorry to interrupt. I always find it useful when you say these because it's not necessarily that I'm going to equip exactly, you know, this combination, but it gets me to thinking about like what combinations I could equip to kind of match with my gameplay or what I have equipped, like subclass wise, et cetera, to maybe address the things that I find most common in my lobbies or the things that maybe frustrate me the most about, you know, what somebody's running for their survivability, right?
Yeah.
So I find it useful because even if I'm not going to run Harmony, Surge ×3, and Tracer Rocket, it gets me to thinking about what combinations I could run that's similar to that, to kind of then, you know, address, you know, something that I have redress about.
Yeah. So. And I like mentioning it too, because there's a lot of times where somebody's build is like halfway there to one of these 2-taps, but they don't have just the final piece. And so maybe, at least if you're listening to this, it can give you an option. And one of those would be this one. And that is the last thing to kind of up your damage here is keep the propagation strand fragment in mind. If you're running strand, this is a strand hand cannon. You run that propagation strand fragment on powered melee kills, you get unraveling rounds for 5 seconds. These unraveling rounds, they send out 3 seeking threads that do 4 damage each. They look like little nanites, you know, from, you know, one of the exotic pulses that sends out all the little nanites.
Oh, yeah. Outbreak Perfected.
Yeah, it looks like Outbreak Perfected, kind of. And so they do 4 damage each, and every time the you get 40 damage on an opponent, which is a single hand cannon, even body shot, that will send out those seeking threads, and they each do 4 damage each. So that doesn't sound like much, but then when you consider you're facing an opponent and you've got unraveling rounds, you do a 3-tap on one guy, some of those unraveling threads go to the second guy, and on your next shot, your 4th shot, the Tracer Rockets go out, the unraveling rounds have already hit them, and you hit 2 crits, that's 208 damage. And you didn't use anything. Normally with the Tracer Rocket, you need some sort of surge mod or something to help you get that 2-tap, but just the unraveling threads.
Just the unraveling threads, 200.8 damage,
So just things to keep in mind. There are ways, and even if you're not going for a 2-tap, if you're just playing 6s and you add some of this stuff to your build, your teammates might have hit them with one random scout rifle shot or hand hit. Like that happens all the time. That's
time.
how I got those random trace rocket kills around a corner, because my teammates damage them, and I'm just cleaning up people. And it was really fun to use it that way.
It's true. I mean, between the fact that 120s are just huge, like cleanup weapons, they do chunk damage, either on the front end or the cleanup end. And also keep in mind as well that if you're a certain power level in trials and someone is less power level than you, you can still end up coming out on top with like a 2-tap when you wouldn't necessarily have gotten that 2-tap, in a light level or a power level disabled playlist like Iron Banner or just like quick play. You'll end up getting it in trials because of the power level difference. So it's always kind of worth it to keep those things in mind, because it could benefit you, especially in trials when you really need to kind of like clutch up due to that.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now we have to talk about one last gigantic damage thing.
Y'all thought it was going to stop at 2-taps. Y'all thought it was stopping at 2-taps, baby.
Dude, I did it. I did the 1-tap. I actually did it, and not in a public game, but like I did it in a private match. That's right. And it works. I cannot and when I did it too, I was like, did I just do that? Like, it feels so weird to pull off a 1-tap with the hand cannon. Okay, so for everyone freaking out right now, this isn't something that's just going to happen all the time. It takes a ton of setup to make it happen, but it does work. So, okay, let me break it down. You have to have a team for one method, and then there's another method that you can do it solo. Okay, so with a team, this is like the best way to do it. Any Brazil, you run the hand cannon, you get the 3-tap kill, 1, 2, 3. You got the kill. Okay, you need a buddy to put down weapons of light somewhere. You don't need it yet. You just need to have it available. Maybe you can walk through it now. It's a long timer. You can do what you want.
That's right. It's like 15 seconds or something.
Yeah, so you get the kill. Then you do a strand, grapple, hit them with the melee, and then throw a melee or shoot your hand cannon. It doesn't really matter at this point. You just want to make sure to proc golden tricorn ×2, which you need a powered ability kill. And the grapple melee does work for this, so you can proc it that way. So go ahead and grapple melee and then send out your powered melee. You got golden tricorn ×2. You run through weapons of light. This is where it gets weird. While you have all this active, you need to 3 body shot someone. This is the only way this works. You have because the timer's not long enough. If you do it super fast and you have you get that second powered melee kill and you have weapons of light, your 4th shot will do it here, but I couldn't get it that fast. And maybe it's possible. Maybe you could do it, Tony, because the 7 second on the tracer rocket runs out, but you can restart it. And this is where, because the golden tricorn is a 10-second timer. You got weapons of light, which lasts forever. So then you 3-tap body someone. It's not enough you're not doing enough damage to 2 body shot someone yet. So you 3-tap body shot someone. Now you've got, within 7 seconds, your 10-second golden tricorn is running down, but now you've activated your trace rocket on your next shot. You take 1 headshot. You got the 14 damage from the impact of the tracer rocket, 15 damage from the explosion.
Got it.
All together, it comes together. You're doing 149 damage on your crit and then 54 damage from the rocket. It's a total of 204 damage on your crit. And it's a 1-shot, and I can't believe it works, but it does.
It's crazy enough just to even see it on paper is crazy. I'm just sitting
Tony's
here just
looking
staring
at the sheet right
in
now,
awe.
What the?
I'm still staring at it, man. I'm still staring. I've been staring at it. This is the thing that I've been staring at the most since pre-show. I just keep on coming back to this to try to wrap my head around it so we can get this done, man. This just seems crazy. So love it. Okay,
so that's the team. You can do this on solo too. I'm sorry if I'm wasting somebody's time. I just think it's so cool that there's a 1-tap.
No, I'm loving this. I'm loving this.
So then a warlock, you have to be strand, remember, to do this. Because golden tricorn ×2 doesn't work unless you're running strand. So you run in strand, you do the same thing. Maybe you put down your rift beforehand, but you need your empowering rift. You throw that down. You get a 3-tap like normal. And then warlock is one of the only classes, so you could actually do this pretty fast, where you strand melee and the threadlings go out and you can get that 1-shot a lot faster. That way you don't have to use your actual powered melee. You can use your powered melee if you want there, but you just have to kill them with the abilities. And then standing in your empowering rift, when you shoot your shot with the tracer rockets on that 4th shot, it'll do 100 with the tracer rockets and everything buffed. Golden tricorn ×2. You have to be running surge ×3 for this as well. Empowering rift. You do 145 damage, 0.4 on the crit, and then 52.77 on the rockets total, adding up to 198.17. So that's a one-shot hand cannon shot up to 9 Resil. Solo. You don't need anybody else. You can do it yourself.
All right. I might contribute like a whole stream for this.
Seriously though, I it's the one thing that's pushing me forward to finish getting Strand on my Warlock. It's the one class I haven't finished the campaign. I'm like, please let me just finish this so I can do the one shot in an actual match. It would be so much fun to get it.
Okay. See, now you got me thinking. You feel like Rumble might be the best place for this, maybe?
That I think anything could work for it, honestly. But yeah, Rumble would be a place I would try it out for sure.
I need somewhere probably without some skill. Man, my skill-based matchmaking is demons, dog.
Yeah, connection base, and then you got to set up your empowering rift though in a spot that's like where people
But that's the thing about Rumble is you can predict the spawns, so you know where the second person's coming from. It's really just that first person.
The hardest thing about this one tap is balancing the 7-second timer between your shots of the tracer rocket. That's the hardest part of the whole thing, because everything else is super long. Golden Trigger times 2's 10-second timer. Surge lasts forever. The empowering rift, that one doesn't last as long, but
it's still like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that. Yeah.
The hardest part is figuring out when your tracer rocket's gonna fire, and I figured it out. It's just a matter of executing now.
Oh boy, man, you're gonna have me like this might be like 2 and 3 streams through, bro.
I know. Okay,
that sounds like fun.
Let's get to our actual rolls. Tony, I want to hear from you first, because I've been talking for way too long about these one shots. I need to hear what you're gonna roll on.
Okay, that's fair. We can skip down to mine. Okay, so oh boy, so you guys know hand cannon, shotgun main, so I've always got like thoughts for this. The role that I was using in trials, like I still haven't let folks know. I put a clip up and people have been asking me about it and I forgot about it, but first and foremost, I'm always going to craft something that is about a like consistency. That's what I enjoy the most about my hand cannons, or about my weapons just in general, is just consistency. And it doesn't matter whether it's on a warlock, a titan, and a hunter. It doesn't matter what I'm playing. I craft around just having a consistent hand cannon, irrelevant of the subclass or fragments or things like that. So the role that I was using in trials was fluted barrel, ricochet rounds, keep away, opening shot with a stability masterwork. I go back and forth between like a stability masterwork or a handling masterwork, but I was using it with my Ophidian's Warlock, right? So, of course that gives me like that plus 32 or something like that handling. It's not as big of a deal, and it feels really good. So opening shot and keep away, just a great keep away is a beautiful, like I find it difficult to equip anything but keep away on this hand cannon. Like under pressure's great, and I'm glad that you brought that back up because I forgot about that, and that's really the only other one that I'd run in that category. Sure, like Killing Wind is awesome, but Keep Away is better, just unequivocally better. And Under Pressure is definitely that consistency, like run and gun type perk. It's when you're running up on like 1, 2, and 3 people and you're really digging deep into that magazine and you need as much stability for that second or third person to try to clean them up. That's where Under Pressure really shines. And what I love about Keep Away in contrast, is it just synergizes with 120s or anything where you're sitting back, greater than 15 meters, right, for it to proc. And so it is often active on a 120 hand cannon, or, if you have it on a pulse or something like that. And so it's really nice. So fluted barrel, ricochet rounds, keep away, opening shot, and stability on the masterwork. That's one role. There's a bunch of roles that I really, really enjoy. You've also got one that is the classic kill clip role. Again, fluted barrel, ricochet rounds, keep away. That doesn't change. Then you've got the stability or handling or even range masterwork. Range masterwork is very, viable here as well. But kill clip for those 2 taps at up to 9 resilience, right, that we just spoke about. So that's a classic. That's 2 tap for days. That's the name of that rule. Then you've got the the final role that I'll suggest, which is the elemental capacitor role. Elemental capacitor, please, people, don't continue to like sleep on elemental capacitor, both on hand cannons and just in general. I feel like more and more people are coming around to it on hand cannons in particular, but also I guess on pulse rifles as well. But elemental capacitor is just such an S tier perk to help to balance out stats on our weapons that we really enjoy for consistency in particular. So fluted barrel, ricochet rounds as usual, keep away. And then, your choice of masterwork, whatever you're trying to fill in, I suppose is different depending upon like what you're speccing it out for. So if you're on arc, then that's going to end up giving you that boost to handling. And with a handling masterwork and fluted barrel, you can get up to 99 handling on this thing, which is crazy for a 120. Crazy for a 120, because I've spoken about it in the past. 120s have great impact. 120s have great range. But in order to balance that, they generally have low stability. They have low handling and they have low reload speed. So to get 99 handling on it is just nuts. And also void. You go to void and that's stability. You end up putting stability masterwork on it. In addition to that, with elemental capacitor on void, you get 65 stability on a 120, which is quite crazy as well. Like that thing is not jumping. It's not moving. So it's going to be really, really nice. In addition to 97 recoil direction. I cannot stress enough how much 97 recoil direction is going to do for you on this weapon. And it's probably the reason why so many people love it. Honestly, I just didn't even realize that until this moment right now. So many people love this gun, and I almost guarantee you, people, that it is because of that 97 recoil direction. Do not sleep on that on 120s. Don't sleep on it on 120s. And then don't forget about stasis. Don't forget about stasis. Cammy Cakes continues to just live in my head rent free because he reminded me of this. Stasis gives you plus 20 recoil direction, which isn't as imperative on this particular 120, just because you have such high recoil direction at base on this one at 97, but you get 5% reduced ADS movement speed penalty, which means, and by the way, that stacks on top of 10 mobility. So if you're strafing at 10 mobility, this can actually go beyond the strafe speed at 10 mobility by stacking elemental capacitor on it on stasis with that 5% reduced ADS movement speed to strafe even faster. Now, for reference, that is even better than moving target. Moving target also gives you reduced ADS movement speed penalty, but it's only 2.5%, right? Only 2.5%. So it's a juiced moving target in that regard. And if you're running stasis at 10 mobility and on top of that elemental capacitor, you are, believe me when I say, people thought that I was lagging. Like that's legit. I was playing scrims and people thought that I was lagging because I was strafing so fast. Don't sleep on it. People be missing those shots, and stasis with elemental capacitor is very, very good. So those are my three, and then I'll just mention, because I mentioned it before, you guys heard it in a past episode, that hatchling, of course. I would probably do the exact same thing for the most part. Fluted barrel, ricochet rounds, keep away, hatchling, and then a stability or a handling masterwork, or maybe even a range masterwork, just depending on how I'm feeling at the moment. Continue to double down on what 120s do, which is a lot of range, so just put more range on there. So, but hatchling on Warlock, this just synergizes with the strand fragments, and just continue to send out as many threadlings as possible. That is definitely a build that I'm going to put together as soon as I craft. I'll probably just craft a different or a second round robin and level it up whenever I get some free time. So those are my thoughts as far as roles for round robin.
Yeah, that's good. And keep in mind that if you're using that hatchling roll, that is enough damage to get the 2-tap off. If you're using, I think, if you're using the fragment that lets your threadlings do more damage. And so any class can run that, but it lets your fragments do 10% more damage, that evolution fragment on strand.
That's in addition to the trace rocket, I would imagine, correct?
Yeah. So it's like almost like backup. You don't even need the trace rocket, actually. You just like...
What?
Yeah, So I'm pretty sure it just does the 10% extra, and you just add it in and get that 2-shot. Actually, let me double check real quick, make sure I'm not going crazy now.
Yeah, my face is sideways right now. Are you telling me?
I'm right. Yeah, 40. I'm not. I listen. I'm past the days of hyping you all up for things don't exist. But yeah, so 40. So basically, let me break it down for you. 41 damage is what the threadling does when it goes out. So you get that first kill. Boom, boom, boom. Headshot. The threadling comes out. It's 41 damage at base times 10% brings you to 45. Your headshots are doing 79.9 times 2. That's 159 plus the 45. That's 204 damage total for 2 shots with the threadling. So yeah,
okay.
2-tap.
All right, there we go.
It's a damage perk. I feel like it's funny you got to think of it that way. So that's my bad. I should have included that in the damage perks, because that's just one more way. That's like 6 different ways, y'all, that you can 2-tap with this thing. It will not let you not 2-tap with it at this point. That's how I see it anyway. So I am curious. It was interesting to me that you picked Kill Clip as the main Tony killing role. I really thought I might have had you convinced with Golden Tricorn there.
No. I said that was the one that most people are gonna go for the killing one. That's not the one that I would go for. It's unlikely that I would craft a kill clip one. It's unlikely just because it's not my playstyle to compulsively reload. I just don't like kill clip like that on a hand cannon, specifically. No, Golden Tricorn would be the one that I would probably like equip, or like Hatchling or something like that, versus kill clip. But in the end, like round robin for me, the way that I see it, we talk about all the time, man, there's a specific hand cannon, like what does it do different for me,
right?
You know what I'm saying, versus the other roles that I have, or maybe the other roles within that subfamily that do something different from this one, right? And so the way that I see this one is that round robin, especially with that 97 recoil direction, is a consistency monster. And so I would double down on that with keep away and opening shot, which is currently what I have on it. If I chose a damage perk, it would probably be Hatchling or Golden Tricorn, knowing me.
Good to know. Okay, cool. So my role doesn't differ too much from yours, but enough. Mainly so here's the thing. I started my role because I crafted it, got fluted barrel. I started with fluted barrel, ricochet, and I think I went stability masterwork just to be safe, and so I went with that for a little bit, and it was okay while I was running under pressure, but I felt like I needed more. I felt like I was getting flinched too much on shots. And so here's the 2 things that really helped me with this. One, I just doubled down on all the stats that I could. I went small bore, ricochet rounds, and under pressure. And then if I'm just leading this thing for kills with just this weapon, I went Golden Tricorn. I tried that out for a bit. It was fun, but I ended up landing on Harmony with it because I use it to swap back to a lot of times for the extra damage. And so 2 things helped me there. One was using small bore instead of fluted. And then the 2 other things were running the right mods. I wasn't running flinch resistance at first, and I started running that on my chest piece, at least 1, but usually I was running 2 flinch there. And then that plus the extra stability from small bore and under pressure when it was activated was giving me just a ton more flinch resistance, and I could feel it in the game. So that plus to make up for not having any handling, I was running like 3 dexterity mods because my build doesn't need kickstart. So that's faster than a 0.75 times handling scaler. And they're saying 0.7, but I find it hard to believe there's not diminishing returns there. So I'm sure
agreed.
It's somewhere between there, at least more than a 0.75 times handling scaler. So it felt snappy enough to me, and I had tons of stability. At the end of this build, when I get low in the mag, I'm running 58 range, 82 stability, 82 on this thing.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And 39 handling, which is super low, but I have that 0.75 times handling animation scaler. And then plus the up to 50% smaller accuracy cone size once I get low in the mag, opposed to keep away only has 5%. So it's like a huge difference in your accuracy. And I really felt that when using the gun. So that's my final build, is that small bore, ricochet rounds, under pressure, and harmony. I know those 2 don't always go together, but I'm often shooting a lot, and that harmony lasts for 10 seconds. So that is a long time to use that. Plus, if I'm getting double kills with it, then that tracer rocket is going to come into effect. And there's just, you just keep going. The damage just keeps stacking with this thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Well, one thing. So a lot of people might not think that, under pressure and harmony synergize, but if you're truly taking advantage of that 7 seconds of harmony, you're just going to go through that magazine without reloading, right?
Yeah.
And so you're just going to be accurately hitting shots and hopefully just hitting all heads to really get the most bang for your buck out of the harmony. So that's one way to kind of think of it. Another thing I'll mention, it may be like the tip, the secret little Tony tip for hand cannoning out of this entire episode: 3 unflinching mods.
Yeah.
3 unflinching mods. You put on 3 unflinching mods, people, I don't think you get flinched. I don't think you get flinched anymore. I don't care what stability you have on your weapon for the most part, within reason, But because I hand cannon for a living, I run 3 unflinching mods on my chest 24/7, and if I get flinched, I know that I'm running 1 or 2, and that I did something to my build and I just need to equip it. But 3, and oh man, my hand cannon shot feels so consistent. So consistent. It just doesn't feel like it's affected by flinch, which allows me to just be a pure aimer, so it's nice. That's a little secret.
I'll double down on you. I haven't felt a change like that in a while, where I just put on those mods and then started running. I was like, oh my God, that's a night and day.
It's a huge change. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Night and day.
100%.
Definitely do it. Because you don't need it on your energy most of the time, unless you're running a sniper. I get it, like you're getting flinched off, but running a fusion or a shotgun, you don't need that flinch mod as much, in my opinion. It's much more beneficial to have it on your primary.
Completely agree.
Okay, let's get to iterative loop, because I'm going to try to narrow this down as much as I can. I literally have 5 different builds for this thing, because it's just so flexible in what it can do, and I feel like people are barely touching the surface of it. They just look at Kickstart and they're like, that's what I want to do. Okay, let's do it. And there's so many more options to that. So rapid fire fusion rifles, it fires 9 bolts. We got into the buff earlier. I'm going to treat it pretty much like it has that buff in these recommendations, because it's coming soon enough. And honestly, this thing will connect the 8 bolts needed. You don't even need to worry about it hitting 7 and missing 8 and 9. You're gonna kill them. Okay, so remember that while this is a 0.5 charge time, that the frames needed for the bolts to connect and all come out one at a time on the fusion rifle actually brings it to a 0.77 second TTK. I think a lot of people forget that when they're looking. I see a lot of quotes online about the rapid fire buff changing, get prepared to get melted at 0.5 seconds, but that's not true. It's 0.77 second actual TTK because of the delay in the bolts coming out. So it's good to remember. It's not just a straight up, and there's pre-charge involved. Obviously will feel different, but
nonetheless, I didn't know about that distinction. I didn't know about that distinction. That's really okay.
Okay, so we talked about the buff. It's going from 27.2 to 28.9. You only need to hit 7 of your bolts at any resilience level. At base, these are really good base stats. The only thing higher is Cartesian with its 17 zoom, but just this base 15 zoom, it's still really good stability, range, all of it. Null Composure is really the only thing that has better stability and range. I can't believe they stack so much range and stability into this thing. And Null Composure, while it has better stats, doesn't have any perk options for PvP other than high impact reserves, which you won't need anymore because you'll 7 bolt everything anyway.
Everything. Gotcha. Okay.
So the main damage thing here to talk about is Kickstart. That's the big thing everybody wants to go for. You must sprint with the weapon for 1.5 seconds, and then it increases the charge time to 0.4 seconds and gives you a 0.6 TTK, which is still really close to sidearms. It's not that different, and you have to run for 1.5 seconds and then slide to use it. It's very fast. It's very deadly with Antaeus wards, and with the new damage buff, it will 6 bolt any resil over 7, because it gives you that plus that 20% damage buff when using Kickstart. It's one of the only. It's so weird to me that this exists, that you get a damage buff and it's faster. It's kind of a crazy perk. You just have to play very specifically to get the bonus, which isn't my playstyle specifically, so we'll talk about that. But yeah, with Radiant, you'll be able to 5 bolt up to 5 resil, and with Radiant plus a surge times 3, you will 5 bolt any resil with Kickstart. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, very, very gross stuff you will be able to do with this weapon in Kickstart. Okay, so for those who don't like Kickstart, though, I have a lot of other ways to play this for you. Probably the most important thing when I build this thing out, I'm gonna build it all out, and you can tell me if you think I'm crazy for any of this, Tony. I will say right up front, it felt best for me on almost every build to use arrowhead, break, and then use a counterbalance mod, because that brings your recoil direction up to 92. And that just felt super important for shooting out those 9 bolts, controlling that recoil direction. Otherwise, it just felt inconsistent to me. And so then you're free to push the range, projection fuse. You're free to do a range masterwork and run the perks how you want them to, just as long as you had arrowhead, break, and a counterbalance mod. That's going to help you out there.
Okay.
So the builds for this, obviously we have the kickstart one, the basic arrowhead, counterbalance, projection fuse, range masterwork, and then under pressure is the undefeated perk right there in that column, giving you that up to plus 30 stability and up to 50% better accuracy cone size. And then kickstart, giving you that fast 0.4 second charge time and 20% extra damage for the 6 bolt at any resil. Of course, everyone's going to love that. I'm going to go against the grain here and say that my favorite rolls were all different than this. This feels like if you're a W key warrior and that's all you want to do, then this is the roll for you. And many people like that. I am just not one of those people, because it limits your play style in terms of how you're engaging with someone and need to turn on a dime and face someone. That's one of the strengths of a rapid fire, is you don't have to take 1.5 seconds to set up the attack. You're charging in 0.5 seconds. That's, I feel like kickstart limits you into one way of thinking. Yeah. And I would rather turn on a dime and use the advantage of having a rapid fire to defeat my opponents.
Well, I think it's so this, I'll liken this concept to something like slide shot on a hand cannon. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Slide shot on a hand cannon, people are just like, man, I can just get my plus 20 range. I'm just like, you don't have enough range on that thing. I can just get my plus 20 range from like sliding. I'm just like, but you're not always going to want to slide into an engagement. Oftentimes you slide into an engagement or you slide a corner or something like that, and you can't slide back before 2 and 3 people are looking at you that you didn't know additional people were there, and you just automatically get deleted. And so it ends up pigeonholing you into one play style, and it doesn't allow you that versatility to play competitively with that weapon, And so the way that I think of it is just like, I love slide shot on a hand cannon. Do I need to say that a third time? Love it. But it's a hand cannon. If I have slide shot on it, it's a hand cannon that I know that I'm not necessarily going to take. It's not going to be my main like scrim or comp or even trials hand cannon. But it will be my sixes hand cannon. It will be my, I don't know, like respawn mode, Iron Banner, whatever else, like hand cannon, because it's just fun to slide everything. And that's the way that I think of Kickstart as well. That it's valid. Perfect. It's valid, like in some realms, and in other realms. I mean, it's just it's valid in general, but it just depends on what your objective is and what the mode is, what you're trying to get out of it. But Kickstart is hella fun, and so is Slideshot for sure.
Yeah. So,
but I see what you're saying with regards to versatility, of course.
I like your analogy there a lot. That sums it up perfectly for me. So if you're not into Kickstart, which I know I think a lot of people think they need to do this, and there are other options. So I just want to lay out the other options really quick. If you're on a Void subclass, run Elemental Capacitor. It is a no-brainer, because you get that. If you're running enhanced Elemental Capacitor on it and you're running Void, that's a plus 25 stability. You get plus 20 if it's not enhanced. If it's enhanced, that's plus 25. So you run all that together. You're running the arrowhead, projection, range masterwork, under pressure, elemental capacitor. You're getting up
crazy.
To 90 stability on a rapid fire. I just read that.
90 stability and 92 recoil direction.
Exactly. And 43 range is quite a bit on a rapid fire, because you're still running the projection fuse and range masterwork. It's not like you went all into stability and you're still hitting 90 stability. So this is the role that made me fall in love with the gun, and is probably the most consistent. Like if I were just to generally play and be effective with it, this would be the role. And I will add the tracer rockets here, I didn't write this in the notes anywhere, but I know it by heart because it fires on the third shot. So it doesn't work if you don't have the ammo for it, but it works even if you reload. So I was playing a comp match. I spawned and my 2 teammates died and I was in a 1v3 and I fusion one guy, grab his ammo, dodge, reload, and within like 3 seconds I fusion the next guy, and then the third guy is like, I want to say like 20 meters out, like just outside of my range where I could hit, and I fusion him and leave him 1% and the trace rockets go out. He goes around the corner, the trace rockets go around the corner and kill him. And I was like, no way. What just happened? And it was so funny because I switched to my sidearm within that time, my farewell, and was going to just... but he went around the corner, and then I said my fusion got a kill, and I was like, what? I had to rewind it, like the clip, and play it back. I was like, no way, the trace rocket killed him. So
we need like a trace rocket like montage. This is the second time I've heard this from you today.
I could do it.
We need a trace rifle montage.
I might get on that, honestly. Okay,
let's do it.
So that's the void roll, is elemental capacitor with everything. Okay, now it gets crazy. I was done with it with that. It felt great, and then I realized you could keep it going even further, and this might be the most deadly of them all because you can push the range and keep the recoil direction in check.
High.
Yeah, exactly. That was the problem. I felt like I needed arrowhead break, but I wanted to push the range. So if you run stasis and elemental capacitor, you're pushing up your recoil direction. If you're running enhanced,
that's plus 20. Yep.
Exactly. And if you're running enhanced, it does it a little bit more. You can get up to 97 with the counterbalance mod. That's even higher than running arrowhead break.
Yep.
So that allowed me to run extended barrel instead. So it would actually be 87. I run,
and then extended barrel would give you plus 10 recoil direction as well. Gotcha.
Exactly. So I run extended barrel, and that puts me to 97 recoil direction and bumps my range 10 further than it would on the other one. So 53 range instead. And I'm telling you, I was hitting some shots with this. I'm running stasis, so I'm backrising, I put the backris on. I was doing a little backwards lightning dodge action. I had some people make fun of me for it in the Discord today, Destiny Master Breakdown. I see you. But it felt so good. I was getting 1v3s down. It was awesome. I loved this build. You should go try it out if you run stasis. And then I got 2 more real quick. I just run through them.
Got you. Let's do it.
The fourth one is... Okay, I take it back. I said that one was the most deadly. This one might be the most deadly. This is definitely the most fun for me. And I'm gonna craft a second version of this because I want to play this again. It was so much fun. So the same way that we're using Strand to do all this crazy stuff with Golden Tricorn, I started using Strand to do crazy stuff with Well-Rounded. Because with Well-Rounded, you can just put out your grapple and it gives you plus 10 range, plus 10 stability, plus 10 handling. And then I just grapple my grapple point again for free on a hunter, and now I've got ×2 of Well-Rounded for doing nothing, like just right off the bat. And it's incredible.
So the interaction with the grapple point,
yes,
engages Well-Rounded.
Yes.
What?
I know. It's just free, and I haven't seen anybody talking about this yet, and I started messing around with it, and I was like, this applies to so many different things, and this is I'm going to apply it on a different weapon, but on this one, it allows me to get plus 20 range in a spot that I should not be getting range.
Correct, because Well-Rounded has 2 stacks. Well-Rounded ×1 gives you plus 10 range. Well-Rounded ×2 gives you another plus 10 for plus 20. Gotcha.
Exactly.
Okay.
So I decided to invest fully into range and aim assist. Forget recoil direction. Forget stability. It doesn't. Once you hit a certain range on Fusion, this is just personal opinion about them on controller, I should say. Probably doesn't work on mouse and keyboard. But with reticle friction, I just go all in on range and let aim assist take over. So full bore, projection, range masterwork, Well-Rounded ×2, and then you'll even throw a targeting mod on it. Fourth column almost doesn't matter, but I'm putting demo on it because it's there, and why not get free extra grenade energy back on a kill to just keep it going. So Well-Rounded activates on grapples. I activate ×2, that's plus 20. That totals me out at 82 range on a rapid fire fusion rifle. That's like,
what?
I can't even describe to you what
That's
that
not
is.
allowed.
Okay,
That's not allowed. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
And then on top of all of this, I've got 44 stability, and I've got 71 handling from the ×2 from well-rounded.
Yeah,
exactly. And so that handling gets even crazier because if you grapple, and I think I mentioned this earlier, it might have been in pre-show, but if you grapple and you're running your fragment ascent fragment on strand, you get plus 30 handling, plus 40 reload speed, and a 0.925 times reload duration multiplier. Forget the airborne effectiveness. You're now at 100 handling and 82 range.
And 82 range.
Yeah. And then
that's probably not okay.
It's insane. And then I started running targeting mods on it. I just put as many as I could on it. You just put all the targeting mods on. You put the targeting, like not just the targeting mod, but the targeting helmet mods as well. You can bump it up to close to 59 aim assist. We're not sure exactly what 3 times helmet targeting mods on, so I'm just guesstimating. 59 aim assist, 82 range, 100 handling, and I'm telling you, I felt it. For comparison, just what we're doing here, Cartesian with its 17 zoom has a drop off of 17 meters, a damage drop off 17 meters. This thing goes to 18.2 on a rapid fire.
Wow.
It's disgusting. So
I'm really hoping, I don't think I've come against Lego in the Crucible yet, I don't know why, but I'm good. I'm good coming against Lego like on paper, like Lego on paper.
What's crazy to me is that nobody's talking about this yet. Like no review has ever covered anything like that. And I'm like, y'all, there's so much potential here in this fusion. It's crazy. And then I was thinking about you because I was thinking I hit Stasis, I hit Strand, I hit Void. Arc is pretty much the kickstart build. What would Solar be? And it's got to be Adrenaline Junkies on here. Because if you're running Adrenaline Junkie and you got your trip mines, you get a trip mine kill, you've now got your 5 bolting up to 9 resil. No.
I don't. Go ahead.
Sorry, 5 bolting. If you got Radiant during the fight, you're 5 bolting any resil. So, pretty good.
Adrenaline Junkie for the trip mine build, Adrenaline Junkie is not something that I think about often enough, actually.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then there's something else from Adrenaline Junkie too. I didn't realize that Adrenaline Junkie was the one that it's giving you plus 20 handling for 5 seconds, even if you just kill someone. I did not realize that. I thought that it was just the weapon buff, but it also gives you a handling buff.
I didn't realize that either.
So plus 20 handling on top of everything else is just free. So Adrenaline Junkie is a great option running everything else. That's, if you're running Solar, you should run the Arrowhead counterbalance, but just a good, so there's an option for every subclass here, which I thought was really cool. I can't really do that with other weapons. And this one, it's like opened up the doors and I was like, wait, how is this thing so stacked? It's got great base stats. It's got great base stats. It's got all these options for every class. It's just crazy. I think this fusion's gonna take if people invest some time in it, like I've done here, you can do some wild stuff.
Yeah, and I'm gonna two final notes or three. One is I'm always intrigued by Volt Shot. Like whenever you talk, obviously Volt Shot not in PvP, talking about in PvE, just always something to kind of continue to note about it. Maybe not for you, but for me, like you just opened my eyes to the fact that Volt Shot has a different multiplier in PvE for for different weapons, and fusion rifles have one of the largest multipliers, right, along with shotguns and machine guns, right. People, I wouldn't know this stuff if it wasn't for this guy right here. I wouldn't even think about this. And so, I'll actually say Volt Shot stuff because of that. So that's one thing, is that it does have Volt Shot on it. And
Compulsive Reloader. That's a great combo. Compulsive Reloader and Volt Shot.
You just
shoot, reload super fast compulsive reloader, next shot's volt shot. It's fantastic.
Oh yeah, good point. Okay, that's good to note. Second thing is, man, I just don't think enough about Adrenaline Junkie. You know me and making these like Amcar Spine trip mine builds, and I don't think enough about Adrenaline Junkie. And it's a great note. I didn't even realize that you got that 20 handling for 4.5 seconds with Adrenaline Junkie as well. So just something to note and something to continue to build into for my Amcar Spine builders out there. The fact that also grenade kills. So if you get a kill with your trip mine, it grants all 5 stacks of Adrenaline Junkie. So you end up getting that 4.5 seconds of plus 20 handling plus that max times 5, like 33.3% increased damage as well on the weapon that you have Adrenaline Junkie on. So just a note and something I'm definitely being paying attention to for my Amcar Spine builds, weapons that have Adrenaline Junkie on it. And the last thing is a question, actually. Adagio is just not even, it's just a redheaded stepchild. I guess is that what that is?
We're not talking about Adagio. Adagio is not allowed in the House of Fusion Rifles. Just in general,
because it slows the charge time, correct? Is that the biggest thing?
I have a lot of people come to me saying, but Adagio. But the whole point of this fusion is to go fast. Kickstart lets you go faster. That's great. But when you're getting slowed down for no real benefit other than damage, you're doing yourself a disservice when you can connect those 7 bolts already at the speed that you are. Like, if somebody's wanting, I'm gonna hurt somebody's feelings here. If somebody's running Adagio and wants to run it, my advice would be to get good. Honestly, but I'm serious, because you're letting go of the benefit of the gun by going with Adagio, in my opinion. And I feel maybe there's a way that it increases PvE damage, that it's worth it, but there's no way that the plus 10 range you get from Adagio is going to help you more than all the things that I listed here. There's just too much else to go for. So yeah, not worth it as much for sure. I should mention that on those demo builds I was talking about, you're running well-rounded in demo, that you get 22% back of your energy from a special weapon kill. And if you're running enhanced, it gives 10% more. So that would be 32% of your grenade energy back for one kill if you're running demolition.
That's right.
Pretty good options here.
That's good to know. All right, we are on to the Volta bracket. What do we got here?
Yeah, this is an aggressive strand sniper rifle, slow firing, 72 RPM with a 474 crit and 158 to the body. I like this sniper rifle. It's got lower handling at 23. The stats are pretty average, and the zoom is 50. And I know there's other in the archetype that have 43, 45. But I generally liked this sniper. It helped that I was using some rapid fires that I hated before using this. But I put this one on. I was like, I kind of like this thing. If I could get the right perks, maybe I would enjoy it. So I haven't been able to craft it yet, but I feel like Keep Away is the must-have here. Activates outside of 15 meters of enemies, and that Keep Away perk, is giving that plus 10 range, 30 reload speed, and more importantly, the minus 5% accuracy cone size. You could argue Firmly Planted is the thing here, but I don't know. Keep Away is just so free, and it synergizes with being a sniper rifle,
Yeah.
And then the other thing is I had the Storms on here, and I just always think that's interesting on a sniper rifle, but I played around with it on a rapid fire recently, and it just never, I don't like the idea of, with a sniper at least, of getting shot at.
Exactly.
And then shooting. It kind of seems counterproductive.
Yeah. It seems, not intuitive, counterintuitive for a sniper. Yeah. For the playstyle, I completely agree. Which is why something like, it's nice to have. What's that perk where you get flinch less? On a sniper.
Yeah. Not gaze. I was thinking Iron Gaze, but that's not it. But it's like that. Dang it, Tony! Why'd you gotta do this to me?
I know. You guys know the one we're talking about, people. You guys know the one we're talking about. But either way, it's the same. It's a similar concept with that. I'm just like, okay, I see where it's useful. Of course, mitigating flinch on the sniper, but I'm not trying to get hit when I'm trying to snipe anyway, and hit a headshot ideally.
No distraction.
So yeah, no distractions. Thank you. Yeah. So I completely agree with you there. I mean, what I see here myself, and I know you're about to mention the same thing, is keep away and opening shot just seems like just seems really nice. I guess I will mention this before you mention your roles, and I'll chime in kind of on the back end of it.
Mm-hmm.
Is, it'd be really cool if this was a rapid fire frame instead of a 72.
Yeah.
Instead of a high impact, because those generally suffer from low range, right? Which, is going to be less reticle friction, is going to be, it's just going to be a tougher shot, because you're not going to be able to reach out and touch people as easily. It's not going to be as easy to hit that shot out at the far reaches of the range spectrum that you don't have. Right. So to have something like both opening shot and keep away on it, and keep away also, I guess both of them giving, synergy in the sense that they provide some accuracy benefits, benefits. In like opening shot is minus 5% accuracy cone size and also minus 10% accuracy cone growth. And then keep away giving that minus 5 an additional minus 5% accuracy cone size as well. Both of them giving range, 25 range from opening shot, 10 range from keep away. It just seems like, there is a rapid fire frame that is just waiting to benefit from that combination, and I look forward to seeing it. Especially with rapid fires, hopefully coming up a little bit in the usage stats, since a very nuanced buff in the 50% recoil reduction that they're about to get. But that'd be interesting, and I would prefer to see that, to be honest, over this 72 RPM. But here we are, of course.
See, I like this one. I'm excited to craft the one that I really want, and I think there's interesting options here, even outside of opening shot, because like you said, opening shot gives you that minus 5% accuracy cone size, but we've also got under pressure in that slot, and while it doesn't give you the range, we also don't really need it, because even
not on this.
My craft here is fluted barrel, accurized, and then keep away, and even with just a handling masterwork on that, I'm still at 92 range once I add keep away in. So I don't need extra range, and so if I go with under pressure, that's giving me up to a 50% smaller accuracy cone size, and plus 30 stability for the more flinch reduction, which isn't always the best thing you need on a sniper if you're just taking the first shot, but that accuracy cone size changing with keep away and hugely with under pressure, like that sounds pretty awesome. Granted, handling's only 49, but still.
Gotcha. Smaller accuracy cone size linearly grants 25 to 50% smaller accuracy cone size. Okay.
So huge benefits there. The one downside to me is opening shot gives you that plus 25 aim assist, and that's huge on snipers. So it's asking a lot to give up, but I'd be curious to try the two of them. Those are definitely the two that stand out for me in a 3s setting, but if I were to flip it and switch to a 6s setting, I think I've created a bug sniper here. So using your hatchling stuff, if I just go fluted accurized, handling masterwork, keep away, but then instead of under pressure go hatchling will do 41 damage to the next target, and then I can just body shot them for 158 to one shot body shot up to 9 resil. And then if I'm using the evolution strand fragment and I'm running strand, the threadling will do 45 damage, and I'll one shot any resil body shot the next shot.
That's a good point.
So it's like a bug version of we were talking about the Cloud Strike earlier. It's like a bug version. It's just one other person.
Oh man, I didn't even think of that. See, I love it. This is why I love this guy right here. I didn't even think of that, and that's a good point. Maybe that's the reason why hatchling's on it there, and maybe that's the reason why it's a 72 RPM. Somebody thought of this.
I could see that being the case, but that's about all I have on this sniper. Do you have anything else you want to nail down on it?
No, I didn't see anything else. I mean, this has pretty, for the most part, like classic perks on it. We mentioned the ones that are kind of outliers with it, but other than cascade point up there, which we've talked about on like snipers and just weapons in general. I mean, it's nothing really special on this. There's nothing here that is. You've got shoot the loot on this thing. I don't even, that's just so funny, man. Shoot the loot is just such a funny perk to me. Why would you use something that has such limited ammo to go pick up more ammo? What are we doing?
Shoot the loot explosive payload. We were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, I guess, but I'm pretty sure they patched that, so it don't matter anymore. Yeah. I don't know. Just super interesting. But no, I think we got this one under wraps.
Nice. Okay, well, we got this pulse rifle. Please help me pronouncing it. Philotactic spiral. I hope I got that right.
Philotactic spiral. Yeah, that's the way that I see it.
Yeah, so this is a high impact pulse rifle. I have probably stated previously that unlike the previous hosts, I do not like high impact or aggressive pulse rifles. But here it is nonetheless with a 340 RPM, burst of 3 bullets hitting for 35 crit and 22 body. It's got a 0.67 second optimal TTK against any Resil. Very, very fast, but needs all crits for the 2 bursts against 9 and 10 Resil. Under that, you can hit 1 body shot and the rest crit, but still a pretty tough ask. So stats wise, this thing has the highest recoil direction at 80, so that's pretty good, but it has lower range and stability than most of the other pulse rifles in its class. I think that we've got to talk about Headseeker on it.
Always. I don't think there's a pulse rifle now that you just can't just let Headseekers sit on the side. So I'm gonna let you rock.
And I think we have to talk about it specifically for something that you keep reminding me of that I keep forgetting, is that you get the aim assist bump when you get Headseeker proc. And I keep forgetting about that. Mm-hmm. But even without the aim assist bump, it allows you to 1 body and 5 crit any Resil. So taking away it adds the forgiveness for 9 and 10 Resil that you didn't have before. You just have to hit that body on your first shot. So you start it kind of like the neck and let the pulse rifle take you up. And so usually you only do that up to 8 Resil. With Headseeker, you can do it any Resil. And then you get that aim assist buff to help you stay on the head afterwards. So that's pretty great.
Yeah. And that's a totally valid playstyle with Headseeker as well, is to intentionally, kind of start on the neck, let it travel up and hit that Headseeker and just 2 burst as much as possible. So yeah.
Definitely. And then we've got some more traditional options like Kill Clip, lets you have to hit 5 bullets any Resil for a 0.6 second TTK, 4 crit, 1 body. And then Harmony lets you only have to hit 5 bullets as well any Resil, 0.6 second TTK, but requires 5 crit. So Kill Clip is just a little more forgiving. But if you use a Surge × 1 with Harmony, you can 4 crit 1 body just like Kill Clip, something to keep in mind. Because, Harmony does require kill clip requires a kill. A lot of times you're getting that Surge mod rolling now. And then finally with the damage stuff, we do have the Tracer Rocket again showing up. Had to mention it, that on your 5th burst, if you hit 4 consecutive bursts, then your 5th burst should be the Tracer Rocket. You got 28 in the mag, so your 13th bullet on that shot, you should on the shot, your 5th burst, you can do a 3 crit and 3 body, and the Tracer Rocket's 29 damage will finish it at a total of 200.6 damage. So incredibly forgiving, but you've got to hit 4 other bursts in a row. You'd have to be really on your game for it to work with this pulse rifle.
And not compulsively reload as well.
Yes. Well, no, you can reload actually, because I did it on the Fusion. I did prove that does work. So you can reload actually, which is nice. It just has to be within 7 seconds. Within that
7 second window. Gotcha. Understood. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, just something to know. For me on this one, I like pulse rifles steady, not snappy. That's how I would describe my playstyle with them. And so because I don't play aggressively with them, I would be using first a counterbalance mod that brings it to that perfect, it's almost perfect 95 recoil direction. And then I'd run small bore, ricochet rounds, keep away, and Headseeker.
Keep away, continue to pop up, people.
Yeah, keep away, just going strong. And I like the idea of consistency with Headseeker. I would go for a Harmony roll, but I I don't know. I feel like when I use a pulse rifle, it's more so because people are at a distance that I don't want
Most
to
definitely.
engage in. And so it's not that I'm coming off of a kill. It's more so I need to kill this guy because they're at a distance that I don't want to fight with my special weapon.
And I'm also I'm not quick swap into an aggressive frame pulse rifle either.
Yeah.
You know, generally. No, I completely agree. I mean, what aggressive frame 340 RPM pulse rifles are all about is getting that high damage out at range, right? And hopefully getting like a two burst. The mini game with this particular subfamily of pulse rifle is to two burst as much as possible. So I really like the idea of just doubling down on as much stability as possible. Keep away and head seeker keep away, giving you that extra range benefit, and also like head seeker doing what head seeker does, which we explained a little bit earlier. No, I love it. And then of course, like a counterbalance mod for that 95 recoil direction. Like you're basically stacking into this weapon in a way that it benefits it the most on what it does best. And I love that. I love that.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much all I have to say about that pulse. I feel like it's very straightforward. It's got the kill clip. We already talked about the damage with Harmony. It does have elemental capacitor. If you like really want to make it super stable, you have the options here to do that. But other than that, I mean, if you're trying to kill clip, you can kill clip, compulsive reloader. If you want to do it really fast, you can do kill clip and tunnel vision. If you just want it super accurate, you've got those killing options here. But to me, I think just head seeker on this thing is such a good option. I'm not going to give it up.
Agreed. I mean, you know, again, you can two burst if you hit that optimal that you were talking about, right? So
0.67,
you know, why I don't see any reason not to really double down on that head seeker. Now, again, you know, if you're nice with the pulse, especially on M&K, then of course that tunnel vision kill clip, like which you might have mentioned a little bit earlier, is definitely valid. But yeah. Like I'm really liking that head seeker and keep away combination. That's probably the way that I would craft it first if I was going to do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on to dimensional hypotrochoid. What a name!
I'm gonna let you rock with that. I think it's hypotrochoid.
I would say it's probably cool. There we go. Yeah, we're gonna skip this one because it sucks and move on to the next. No, I'm just kidding.
He said he was gonna do that pre-show, by the way.
Here's the deal. I really wanted this thing it's the first heavy wave frame grenade launcher, and I really wanted it to do proximity damage where it like will get the one shot if you're right on him, but it doesn't. You have to literally physically hit your opponent with the impact of the little pellet and go doink, and then it does just enough. It's like 60, I wrote it down, 63 damage, and then the wave will kill them. And it does work, but you literally have to doink them with the pellet of the grenade launcher, and it's just not practical. You're never going to use this. The one thing that I will say, you know, don't spec into blast radius because it's not going to matter. It's a wave frame. Go velocity, go handling. Shot swap is your one option here in the third column, and in the fourth column, I feel like disruption break is really cool. It would have been cool if it did the one burst on the one guy and the wave went out, and then you disruption break everyone else to make them 50% weaker to kinetic damage. That would have been awesome, but it doesn't do that. You can't one shot. You can't, you know, I'm not saying it's impossible to use this thing though. Imagine you're fighting someone in a well or a bubble and it gives you 3 ammo and they're 3 waves that do 150 damage each, and there's like a group of enemies and you just boom 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 and you know just get them immediately. Like it has possibilities. It has 120 RPM, just like an adaptive frame like Wendigo. So imagine shooting as fast as Wendigo, but it's waves of damage. It's interesting, but it's not practical in the 3v3 competitive setting. Maybe there's some funny stuff in 6s that can happen, but there's no damage stacking perks here unless there is one thing. I'll say it real quick and then we'll move on. You can run one for all, and if you happen to hit 3 people with the wave, your next 2 shots for 10 seconds will do 202 damage, which is interesting.
Yeah,
but
that's nothing to balk at. Yeah.
It takes golden. You'd have to get golden tricorn ×2 on a regular wave frame to get that kind of damage. So it's not. It's much easier. I don't know. I think honestly, it'd be easier to proc golden tricorn ×2.
Oh no, I agree. I definitely agree.
Than to do this.
Do damage on 3 targets. I mean, sure, maybe like on a capture point or something like that. But yeah, I mean, even in a well, I suppose. When you mentioned well, I don't know, you peek a well long enough in order just to aim it to do that. Half the time you're dead. I
might be trying this. I'm convincing myself that there's a funny clip waiting to happen here. In a well, you use one for all. You shoot the first shot and then the next 2 in quick succession for the 200 damage. Like, I don't know. Yeah. We'll see.
Hey, you put it together, I'd believe it.
Okay, let's get out of here. This is a terrible weapon for PvP. We've got the last thing we're covering here is the 3 Neomuna overload weapons.
Yeah.
There's 2 that are really worth talking. Well, there's one that's really worth talking about. Synchronic Roulette is not that one to me. It's a precision frame SMG. 600 RPM.
Y'all hear Lego today? Yo, Lego a hater today, bro.
Listen. All you have to know is Shayura's Wrath exists. Why? How can this compete? Okay, let me talk about it, and then we'll talk about the perks, because there's one interesting thing, but I still don't think it's worth running. 600 RPM, 24 crit, 17 body. It's a 0.8 second TTK against 10 Resil with a lenient 7 crit and 2 body. But stats wise, really the only thing that stands out is its lower aim assist at 52, and everything else is kind of just in line with the archetype. Nothing stands out. It's got the classic kill clip, which does the 7 crit 0.6 second TTK against any Resil that Shayura's is known for and dominates several Rumble lobbies for. It's got Cascade Point, which does the slower 0.7 scaler versus auto rifles that have a faster scaler, and it makes this one only a 0.56 second TTK with 857 RPM. But it lasts for such a short period of time that it's really hard to get that 0.56 second TTK. And Immortal's doing that with target lock. So like,
yeah, true.
And then target lock is only a 0.7 second TTK on this. So in conclusion, why?
In conclusion, several SMGs of the same subfamily or different subfamilies do better than what this does with any of its roles, it sounds like.
Yeah, to me. And like, if you're going for this, I think the one unique thing is you can get Envious Assassin in the 3rd column and Cascade Point in the 4th. Envious Assassin will reload your mag. It's like 150%.
It's 150%.
Yeah, so that would give you up to 65 bullets in this to activate your 857 RPM with Cascade Point. And that is one of the problems with SMGs and Cascade Point is your ammo runs out so fast.
True.
So that would be interesting. I would run full range on it, full bore, ricochet round, range masterwork, and then Envious Assassin, Cascade Point. But even still, it's such a niche thing that I don't know that it's worth it. I want it still. I still ran the event for it, the overload, but terminal overload. But I don't know.
You know, when I saw this, what would be interesting on this would be to have Harmony on the end.
Yeah,
Harmony on the end.
I love Harmony on it.
You drop Harmony on it, and you pair that with Pulse Monitor in the 3rd column. Pulse Monitor giving you 50 handling, 0.95 times, ready stow duration multiplier, refills the magazine from reserves as well. You stow it, doesn't really matter whether you stow it full or not. You end up getting weak because you ended up taking out somebody with your other weapon. You immediately swap to it with faster handling with Pulse Monitor.
Yeah.
It's got a full magazine. You've got it's very snappy as well because you got that handling increase as well. And then you've got Harmony for 7 seconds. And Harmony also gives you some handling benefit on top of the damage, the 20% damage boost. So that's a combination that I mean, if it exists, I haven't seen it yet, like with my own eyes to think about it. But Pulse Monitor, Harmony, definitely look out for that perk combination, especially if you're going to end up swapping to that weapon maybe as a secondary.
I'll take you one further. I wish Bungie, this thing's so rare to get, and to get the perk combo you want, I wish they would have get this and tell me if I'm crazy. I wish they would have put Harmony in the third column and let you get Cascade Point in the fourth.
Ooh, that'd be crazy.
Like, why not? It's so rare, and for that playstyle to work, you would constantly have to not be using the weapon to really, the Cascade Point lasts for such a short period of time. You would only be able to use them together for like 2 seconds. So why not just, stack them together? And it's such a rare role, you would hardly ever see it. I think Bungie should have gone all out with this. I'm going to get some hate mail for this, but that's what I think.
I don't know. I mean, it's only 14. I mean, until they decouple the zoom from the damage fall off, it's only 14 zoom. I say have some fun with it, have some fun with it. Maybe down the line when, this SMG maybe becomes a little bit more impactful simply because, they decouple the zoom from the damage fall off, and maybe some more SMGs are more viable in the Crucible, irrelevant of their zoom, then, we could talk about that. But I kind of agree. Like, what is the reason to really use this thing over, several other options that we have in the Crucible that just does it better. Me as well, like with the current iteration of Hero's Burden, I've said it, the way that they brought it back is something more akin to a PvE weapon, a really good PvE weapon, with destabilizing rounds, and also with the other one, the inverse of that one. What is it called? Volatile rounds? So,
or are you talking about repulsor brace, where it gives you an
repulsor brace? Thank you, repulsor brace. That's the one. Sorry. Yes, repulsor brace. So the new Hero's Burden, is more akin to a very strong PvE weapon, right, as opposed to a PvP weapon. And I'm okay with that. It just seems like this one right here, this particular weapon, just seems like it doesn't do either particularly well. I could be wrong. I could be missing something, maybe with Hatchling or something like that. But
okay.
But yeah.
Listen, man, I added it up. Harmony plus Cascade Point doing the 857 RPM. It'd only be a 0.49 second TTK. That's slower than the new 600 RPM auto rifle is with Cascade Point. It's 0.49 or 0.48 as well. So like, why not? It's such a short range. It can't go that far. It doesn't even really compete with Immortal. Like, just go crazy, Bungie. Do it.
You know what I said the last time, or the last few episodes? There's always got to be a btom, man. There's always got to be a bottom. Everything can't be hot.
This
right?
SMG is the bottom. Okay, let's move on. Let's stop. I can't with this thing.
You're so a hater, man.
I know I am. But listen, I'm gonna completely reverse course because Basso Ostinato.
No, I'm not gonna let you.
Wait,
No. I'm not gonna let you. Go to circular logic first. We saved the best for last, Lego. Go to circular logic first. All right.
Dang it, you're going to make me stay in this spot. It's a stupid machine gun.
Yeah, but the thing is, the last one before the end of the show, we're going to be hyped. We're going to be hyped, baby. Just think about it. If we're hyped with Basso, and then we come back to circular logic, that's what I'm saying.
Okay,
I got you.
Circular logic, the adaptive frame machine gun, 450 RPM with 0.53 second TTK against any Resil, and 10 Resil requires all 5 bullets to crit. They did change. This is one of the ones they changed, I think. So it's 0.53 second TTK no matter the Resil. It used to be up to a certain Resil. But this thing has the lowest range in its archetype at 40. And not just the lowest range, but like ridiculously low the rest in its class, and has 33 stability. So like, why it has target lock, but that does nothing in PvP because the magazine is too large. It does have golden tricorn, which makes it a 4 crit up to 6 Resil at 0.4 seconds if you just get golden tricorn ×1. So that's like interesting, but unfortunately 7 Resil and up doesn't change it. It's just less crits required. So I don't know, run a rocket launcher, run a grenade launcher. You just put me right back in the state.
I'm sorry. I'm dying, man. I'm dying. We're going to need a glow up after this. We're going to need a glow up. You're right. I kind of put you into this one.
Okay, you can get an extremely balanced roll with this. It does have keep away. Golden tricorn is rare on heavy, so I would run small bore ricochet rounds, stability masterwork, and then keep away and golden tricorn with the counterbalance mod. It makes it 62 range, 60 stability, with that 0.4 second TTK on follow-ups up to 6 Resil. Not awful. Use a rocket launcher. That's my summary.
And the thing I always want to remind people about, like machine guns too, use something like extended mag, use something like backup mag, so that you end up picking up more heavy off of the wall when you end up using a machine gun. I don't know of any other weapon, any other heavy weapon where that's the case. I could be wrong, of course, but it's something going all the way back to Forsaken. If you have something like extended mag, you have something like appended mag, and then backup mag as well, something that gives you more in the magazine, then you also end up picking up more ammo off the wall versus something that doesn't have those equipped. So just keep that in mind, a little tip.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to get hyped now because I'm hyped to talk about.
Yeah.
So Basso Ostinato, I'm probably butchering that name, but that's what I'm going to call it.
That sounded pretty good to me. Sounded kind of fancy.
Flows off the tongue, yeah.
It does a little bit.
It's a rapid fire shotgun, 140 RPM, which I have not been a fan of at all in the past, and I think a lot of us haven't. But y'all, this I think might be my favorite shotgun in the game right now. Now, granted,
that's crazy.
Granted, I got the roll. So here's what happened. I was looking at the stats. It's got the lowest range at 26, the lowest ability at 27. There's nothing really that stands out. It's the perks on this thing that stand out. And I was speccing it out, looking, okay, I could run, if I run small bore, accurized, and a range masterwork, this thing gets opening shot on it, and it has well-rounded in the third column, like we talked about earlier. Yep. You could double out the well-rounded times 2's easy to keep up on strand. You could even run this with another grenade class, and that brings me to 98 range while maintaining 68 handling. And if I'm grappling with this, that's plus 30 handling on strand. That's 98 handling. 98 handling with 98 handling with 98 range. That's incredible on this thing. That's like, like what kind of shotgun is that? And I'll tell you, I played around with it before this cast started, because what I did is I looked in my vault to see which rolls I had, and I had this roll that I spec'd. I was like, wait, I have the exact roll. So I went and played around with it. It's incredible. Like I don't know what is the norm. You're going to have to enlighten me, physics, on what is the norm for the one-hit kill shotgun range, because I was hitting 7 meters with a rapid-fire shotgun, and that doesn't feel right.
Yeah, I mean, were you consistently hitting 7 meters?
If I hit them at the neck, I had to hit them just right at the neck. But I did it in private, and then I took it into the real Crucible match, and it felt much more consistent and successful than my perfectly rolled Wastelander, than my perfectly rolled Imperial Decree, which, I mean, that's not saying much, I guess, depending on what you think about it. But, I had max range of these things.
What's the barrel on your Wastelander?
My Wastelander, let me give it to you here. So my Wastelander, I just know that I had slide shot, opening shot on it. I was running small bore, light mag, slide shot, and opening shot. So that brings me to 100 range, right there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's my understanding, don't quote me on this, right? Don't quote me on this, but it's my understanding that rapid fire shotguns have a pretty tight pellet spread.
Yeah, and so it's that square.
If you can reach out and touch, if you can reach out and touch them range wise, get that range stat up, I do feel like it would be pretty consistent. As long as your aim is true, those pellets are gonna go pretty much where you point it. And so that's where I feel like you might be kind of like seeing the consistency, right? Mm-hmm. Because these things aren't supposed to really be getting, 98, 100 range. So that opening shot really puts this thing over the top. That's the way that I see it. Between that and, of course, like well-rounded if you're playing it right.
Yeah, and even with well-rounded, if you're not doing what I was doing where you're like kind of cheesing it with Strand, I was running around frequently with well-rounded ×1, bringing me to that 88 range, and that was plenty with opening shot to either get the one shot or it's a rapid fire, so it shoots incredibly
the double
fast
pump, most
to
definitely,
get that
most
cleanup
definitely.
kill. And I was doing that at 8 meters. So it felt really, really, it's been a long time since I've been impressed with a shotgun in the same way that I picked up Exalted Truth, the hand cannon, was like, oh my gosh, I'm in love with hand cannons again. I kind of picked up this shotgun. Of course, it's perfectly rolled, but I was like, wow, I genuinely am really impressed with this thing.
Yeah. I mean, you know me, I continue to maintain that something around, doesn't matter the shotgun, something around 80 range is the sweet spot for getting some consistency out of your shotgun. If it has around 80, then I'm willing to put some time in on it. And I've generally been pretty happy with shotguns that have around 80 range. Again, no matter the subfamily. So that kind of makes sense, along with the fact that, again, rapid fires aren't really supposed to be getting into those, or I wouldn't say that. I guess the way that I mean it is usually rapid fires don't get into that range spectrum of 80 plus range. So between that and what I feel like is an intrinsically tight pellet spread, I mean, this could be kind of a surprise shooter. So that gets me into my roles. For me, I'm more of a classic gunplay guy where I don't really, it's irrelevant what subclass I'm on. So I'm not necessarily going to be on Strand, or any particular subclass I'm going to benefit from well-rounded,
right?
In order to give me that extra range or handling. So I would probably go with Smoothbore, Accurize, Range Masterwork, Perpetual Motion, actually, and Opening Shot. So a very classic type role. I still maintain that on average, Smoothbore and Corkscrew are going to be the barrels that are going to benefit the most people. Corkscrew because it gives you +5 range, similar to Smallbore 7, but it gives you +5 handling as well, which is probably more important on a shotgun to most people than the +7 stability that you get from Smallbore. But Corkscrew gives you +15, and with that small nerf that they gave it to lessen the pain of the pellet spread, that is the downside of Smoothbore. Smoothbore is now kind of a very strong option to get that range value out. I still maintain that full choke is something that everybody should give a try. On shotguns, it doesn't matter the shotgun, honestly. I still maintain strongly that full choke is up there. It's either S tier or A tier as far as a barrel, and I'll die by that right at this point. But you want to make sure that if you're using something like full choke, that doesn't statistically increase the range value, you still want to have an Accurized rounds, a Range Masterwork, and maybe even Adept range if you end up getting that Adept, that shotgun Adept. Obviously, I'm not talking about this one, but just a caveat with full choke is you want full range on everything else if you actually do end up selecting full choke.
Right.
Either way. Smoothbore, Accurized rounds, Range Masterwork, Perpetual Motion, Opening Shot. That gives you, when Opening Shot is engaged, you get 86 range, you get 40 handling. But keep in mind that Perpetual Motion gives you 10 handling per stack, up to 2 stacks. So you can max out at 60 handling at Perpetual Motion times 2. So a very classic gunplay role that's solid no matter the subclass. Now, we were giggling in the pre-show. This is one of those roles that we came up with in the pre-show. We were giggling about this next role. And I call this the Titan W key run them over role. All right. And it's Smoothbore, Accurized rounds, Range Masterwork, Perpetual Motion, or well-rounded, just depending on what you want to do with it, Perpetual Motion or well-rounded, and Destabilizing rounds. So Destabilizing rounds is only on a few different weapons at this point. Probably the weapon that most people give it credit for right now is Hero's Burden with Destabilizing rounds. Probably the only reason that I'm going to touch Iron Banner this time around, to be honest. Destabilizing rounds as a perk, final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile, right? Final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. It's kind of the inverse of Gerfalcon and volatile rounds. You shoot a target coming out of invis with a Gerfalcon, then you apply volatile rounds, right? You apply volatile rounds to that target that you shoot. On this one, it's kind of the inverse. Final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile. All right. So if you're on a Titan, you just consider this. You're on a Titan, just W key in it, baby. Just W key in it. Synthos, because punchy is going to be important here, right? You're running controlled demolition to kind of double down on the volatile detonation. Controlled demolition is the aspect on Void Titan where hitting a target with a void ability, but more importantly, or volatile detonation will make them volatile, right? So volatile detonation makes surrounding targets volatile. So we'll come back to that. Keep in mind that destabilizing rounds, again, final blows cause nearby targets to become volatile, right? And I'm going to explain the gameplay loop. Echo of Leeching, the fragment, melee final blows start health regeneration. Echo of Vigilance, defeating a target when your shields are broken grants you a temporary void overshield, right? Echo of Cessation, defeating volatile targets creates a void breach. Echo of Starvation, devour when you pick up a void breach. And I just, at the end of here, I just have Synthos like highlighted and in all caps. Synthos. So basically, say with this build right here, you end up getting a kill with your shotgun, right? You get a kill with your shotgun. That's a final blow. It causes nearby targets, because of destabilizing rounds, it causes nearby targets to become volatile. Then you just go punchy, like you don't even worry about the shotgun. You just punch, right? You punch, and you end up taking out that first target that is volatile based on the destabilizing rounds. Well, controlled demolition is going to end up first of all, that volatility right there is going to end up making that target explode, right? Then that volatile detonation from controlled demolition is going to spread more volatile to any other surrounding target, right? Any melee kill is going to start health regeneration just by default. Echo of Leeching is just doubling down on the next thing that I'm going to say, which is the fact that Echo of Cessation off of defeating volatile targets, which these are, creates a void breach. You automatically pick that void breach up because you're literally standing on top of it, right? That grants Devour, which also instantly gives you health regen. So the Echo of Leeching is kind of doubling down just in case maybe that volatile target, or I'm sorry, that void breach is just out of reach. You still get your health back. So, this is like maximum survivability. So you do that. Plus, if you're weak, right? If your shields are broken during this fight, then defeating that target also gives you not just Devour, not just your health back, but also the Void Overshield, right? And so you just keep punching, keep making things volatile, just go to town. And then rinse and repeat, with destabilizing rounds and to get, more targets volatile and, so on and so forth. So it's just kind of like a W key, run into a crowd of guardians and see what happens, basically, and just punchy. I see it as definitely like a cornerstone of the Titan gameplay loop.
It definitely makes me want to try it. I love builds like this. I'm a fan of Swashbuckler, like run in, shoulder charge, and then just go to town. And I like the idea here for destabilizing rounds and controlled demolition go off of destabilizing rounds. Sounds really cool. And it you actually had me looking in my dim just now trying to find any other weapons that I had destabilizing rounds, because I was like, wait, do I have the raid shotgun with it? Because now I really want to try, because I didn't have I know I did have a Basso Ostinato with it, but I've deleted so many of them
of course
that I think I deleted mine with it. And I was like, no, Tony's build sounds so cool, I want to try it.
Gotta go back in there. Yeah, this destabilizing rounds is definitely one of my favorite, if not my favorite perk, like new perk that they've come out with cool. This season. So it's a very, very cool one, and I look forward. I've told you before how much I love synergizing a bunch of different weapons, perks, etc. with Void 3.0. I just love it. So excited to see some clips where folks are just making some things explode. I love my Titans, so let's do it.
Well, I'll have to get some shotgun clips of my 100 range, 100 handling. I mean, not
hey,
quite,
you ain't gotta
but
flex.
really
you ain't gotta flex on us like that, baby. You ain't gotta flex on us. All right, we going out there. We trying to farm too.
I had to make up for all your vaulted old stuff that I can't get anymore.
You right. That ain't touching mine.
Well, that brings us to a close of another show. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more Destiny Master Breakdowns, and be sure to reach out on social media and Discord. I love hearing from y'all about not just feedback, but also like questions, and if you enjoyed certain roles or builds or tried them out, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. And remember, you can connect to all things Destiny Massive Breakdowns at destinymassivebreakdowns.com, including Podcast versus Enemies, hosted by our own Court, Impetus, and Sate Caber, and also Beneath Twin Suns, a Star Wars podcast hosted by Kit Kutcha and Mercules. You'll find our social links, an invite to join the conversation in the Discord, episodes new and old, the occasional guidepost, and more well-written resources right there. And per the usual, this is Ill Physics, aka Tony. If you did not previously know me, you can find me at Ill Physics on most of my socials: Twitter, the YouTube, the Twitch, Twitch and Twitter being the ones where I frequent the most. Of course, also the Discord is also discord.gg/illphysics. Got a great community in there, about 2,500 people. So definitely come through and hang out. We got some great spaces.
Yeah, and this has been Lego Le Flash, and you can find me on Twitter and YouTube at Lego Le Flash.
20,000 subscribers, baby.
I'm really close.
Let's go.
And then also, on top of that, if you wanted some detail stuff of the Fusion rework, there's a video up of that. And the Discord's kind of booming right now because I've put up guides for all the good rapid-fire Fusion rifles, how I would spec them out, just exactly how I'd roll them. So go in there, check it out. I've got a whole crafting guide in the Discord, so be sure to jump.
I gotta get in there.
Yeah,
Awesome.
That's it for episode 295. Thank y'all for joining us this time.
Yo, big love. Peace.